Hey everyone, good to see you on this windy and rainy night here at Maryland. Let me go over here and got to cut off the other side of it, the YouTube side. Hey Phil and Brian, Mike, and Vincent, and everyone. I'm going to go ahead and throw the link out there. Anybody wants to come in? Here we go. Pin. Ah, unpin. Oh, still got the pin on the other one here. I got to get my other channel up and running. Just hold on here and we'll get her. All right. Hey, Tom.
Hey, Charlie.
I'm setting up my YouTube side here. Hold on for a second.
Oh,
Let's see if I can get this thing right. I had it set up, but I pushed the wrong button.
oh no.
Now it's back.
I'm
Hey, Lee.
working on better lighting. I think I got better lighting this time.
Yeah, you do. Have you got one of them circle lights?
Yep.
I've
Yeah.
been thinking about doing that myself.
I had to put a USB hub because I was running out of USBs.
What's that?
USB hub because my ring light's a USB ring light.
Uh huh. So how's everything in your bee yard? I think I watched one of your videos and it was windy as all get out.
I went through all three boxes because it's a big hive. It still is a big hive, and it had 3 frames of brood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, I was surprised. And then I went over one of the guys I mentor. He bought some nukes from me last year, and he said one of his hives was huge, and one of them was struggling. It had some virus in it. It only had a queen and about 20 bees left.
Hmm.
So I shook some of the nurse. I went in his big hive, and he had 4 frames of brood in it. So I took 2 of those frames that had the brood in it and shook some nurse bees in that other hive just to get them to April, basically, and then we'll requeen her.
Yeah, I've been going through my hives. I finally got through all my 10 framers. They have between 6 and 8 frames of honey left top, and they're all nice, really big. Let's see, there we go. Nice, really big clusters. They're filling up the whole top of the box with bees. I didn't dig down through them. I just wanted to get in there to make sure they had plenty of food. And then I went through my nukes. I got 15 of them out there. And I watched this one. It's weak. It doesn't have but a small cluster. And I put pollen patties on. They seem to be every time. I was out there yesterday, right before the rain started. And one bee landed on my truck seat, and she had some pollen on her baskets. So the
Okay.
natural pollen is coming in. They're kind of like turning their nose up at the pollen patties that I put on.
Right.
And I've gotten to the point where, in my personal opinion, for where I live, here it is, let's say the 15th of the month. or actually probably around the 10th of the month, pollen was coming in.
Right. That's the same thing.
Last week when we had nice weather, pollen was naturally coming in. I actually went out there. I put a bucket out there with pollen powder. There wasn't 2 bees on that thing for like, it was out there for a couple hours and nobody was on there.
Right.
And so natural pollen was coming in. So for me, I think as far as buying pollen patties, it's a waste of money. Hey, Nancy. And got that thing. She's hot today.
Leave it alone.
Yeah. And so anyway, the pollen's coming in. Checking my nukes. Now they seem to be really eating up their stores, even though I fed them tremendously to where they wouldn't even take any more sugar water back in the fall. So I've been putting fondant on. Yesterday I was putting it on. I had some stuff in the morning I had to do for my bee club. And by the time I got out there, I was like 3/4 of the way through. Then here comes the rainstorm. So I just kept on going in the rain and putting fondant on. And I did actually take some of the pollen patties off where they weren't really touching them. And I was trying to put them in some 10 frame highs where they might eat them up a little bit faster. And so I've had 3 doses of fondant put on there. I've got another box of fondant here. Seemed like I had about maybe 50 pounds of fondant. I had 2 boxes, maybe around 25 pounds per box. So 1 box is totally gone. I've got half of that second box on the hives and half of it sitting here in the house. Hey, Joseph, thanks for subscribing today to my channel. Need all the subscribers I can get.
Yeah, second that.
I need about, I don't know, like say 450 of them, I think, something like that, to make 1,000. And yeah, 345. Yeah, 345 subscribers I need right now.
Gotcha.
So I can get 1,000 and all that to get up to that monetizing mark.
Right.
Whether that really means anything as far as getting any money out of it.
Right.
But so that's what I've been doing, feeding, trying to keep everything alive, and clusters in the nukes look good. I got one out there I've marked. I've seen it. I've watched it the last 2 weeks. It looked a little bit on the weak side. If it dies, I wouldn't be surprised, and all that. And so that's where I'm at in my hive area. And it's cold today. It started raining yesterday at noon. It rained all night. It rained pretty much all day today. Well, on and off all day today. And then it got windy about 4 o'clock this afternoon. So I had to button down the hatches on all my big sets of doors around here. And so that's where we're at tomorrow. Right now, weather-wise, it's 35 degrees.
You got me beat by 2 or 3. Oh, 28 degrees. So, yeah, we were 71 on Wednesday, but very windy, 45, 50 mile per hour winds. That's where I was trying to check that beehive.
Yeah.
And, today, I think the high today was 33. But only for one day. Tomorrow's supposed to be mid to upper 40s and then 50s on Sunday and 60s by Tuesday, something like that.
Right. So anyway, I say they got plenty of fondant on them and all, but I had this one hive and it's got a small cluster in it, or nuke, I mean, and I'm, just about, I'm wondering whether it's going to make it or not.
Yeah, I'm not feeding any mine yet. They still just got the sugar bricks on top for wintertime that I put on top.
Yeah, well, it's too cold to be putting any liquid in there for sure.
Yeah, and I haven't put any patties on yet. Now, that big hive, I need to put some more sugar up on top of it because it eaten through all its whole. They had a whole 8-frame. It was an 8-frame hive. The whole top was all honey, and the only thing was left was a little bit on the outside. So I put some sugar on it. I got to put some more on it, or they won't make it. They're 2.5 boxes of bees still. They went into winter with 2.5, and they still at 2.5. That queen never stopped laying, I don't think. There's actually a cluster of drone cells. There's actually drones in it and everything. So I'm going to have to split that hive up. I don't want to because I don't want to expand.
Yeah, Phil, there's single brood chamber management. That's what.
Well, you know what? I have half of mine that way, and I still got the other half as doubles and whatever.
Yeah, I've been watching some different things about single brood chamber management. There was one guy, Frank, up here in Pennsylvania, who was using it, and I don't quite understand his theory where he had a single brood chamber, then he put a medium super on and let the queen lay up into that to he says it's going to relieve the swarming pressure that way, because as far as for her to lay, then he puts everybody back down in the bottom of the box, puts a queen excluder on, puts that box back on there where they're going to fill up with honey and the eggs and stuff. I think you're on the wrong mic.
Yeah.
Sound the same. I don't know. Let me go in here and check. Audio. You're right. It should be on a Samson. Does it sound better now, Lee? I don't know what the problem is. It's like my speakers, they were on the wrong. Can you hear me, Tom?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay. It's but like my speakers go on to the wrong channel and they get too loud or whatever.
I don't.
What did it say here?
You seemed okay to me, volume wise.
Yep, Kodiak says, or Lee says it's better. Sounds good. Keith says it sounds good.
Yeah, I'm hoping
It's
Sunday to
bassy?
actually go
Okay,
through
well, I don't know
my
about to
hives
do
a
with the
little bit
bassy.
more, Charlie.
Huh?
Sunday, I plan to go on do a better spot check on all my hives. I have one nuke that I was called up in Dayton, Ohio, which is about an 1.5 hour drive of a tree that they cut down that had bees in it. And it was the last week of October. And when they picked up I was going to put the whole section of tree in my trunk to take it home, put boards on each end just to seal it up and then take it home. But as they were loading it, it just fell apart. It crushed. And some bees, half of it landed in my truck. I had a video of what was left of the trunk. And I actually picked the queen up at the very end. I was actually started up the truck and pulled it out of the way. And I said, I'm going to look one more time for the queen because I didn't see her. And I found her on the ground with about 4 or 5 other bees. And that hive is still alive. And I couldn't save any of the brood or nothing. And they've just been living on sugar the whole winter.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but they're alive. It's about 2 frames of bees.
Right. It just, hey, Dennis. Yeah, that's kind of tough to keep something that,
they're in I put in a nuke and I put them in between 2 other hives, and then I got a little insulation around them just so they could keep any heat they could get from the other hives, or at least the wind off of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to check that one Sunday afternoon.
Well, what's the weather supposed to be like at your place then?
Upper 50s, 57, 58, sunny.
And what, let me see if I got it written down. All right. Where do you live at, Tom?
Cincinnati. Southwest Ohio.
Southwest Ohio.
Yeah, I think we're latitude's about the same, just a day or so different in weather.
Yeah, I would say so. I know that judging the weather, like with Brian from Castle Hives, he seems to be right at the same weather that, he might get a little more bad weather than mine because it's more west of me. But other than that, as far as the coldness and that kind of thing, it's not so bad.
Right. I'm in a corner, I mean, very corner of Ohio. And actually, the whole west side of Cincinnati has different weather than all the rest of Ohio. Because we get just a little bit of that Kentucky southern region. And in fact, we're still part of the Kentucky hills, just up to like downtown Cincinnati. It's just really hilly where I live.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 300-foot hills.
Yeah, well, we're not. Well, we're kind of rolling hills, I guess you would call it. Not a tremendous lot of hills and stuff, and all that. Anybody else wants to come in? The link is at the top of the page there. I've got it pinned for everybody, and all. Yeah, it's. I don't know. It's fluctuating here. Like it's going to be in the 20s or 30s, or high 20s, low 30s tomorrow morning. And then Sunday, I believe it's going to be, I don't know. Let's see. Saturday, high of 48, it says.
Yeah, that's what we are.
And all that. So it's nothing, no bee weather as far as that goes. And I definitely wanted to get those nukes fed prior to this rain. That's why I pushed on and got through it and all that stuff.
Right.
But, yeah, James says here, let me put that up. He won't pull frames out until it's 65 degrees Fahrenheit, which I agree with him there. The only thing I did was when I was going through these hives that are sitting right back behind me here where all the carpet is on there for the windbreak, I just took the inner cover off. I might have pried a few frames apart just to kind of look down in between them to see whether they had honey in them. I did pull out a couple of them in the center where the honey was ate out of them. I'll say anywhere from 2 to 3 frames right in the middle of the hive where they've been eating out. I'll say the majority of the center of the frame, the outer edges on the ends were fine. And that's all the frames that I kind of pulled out. I just want to make sure they had plenty of honey. And I didn't, a lot of times, they'll leave honey right at the top bar and you think it's all the way down the whole face, the whole face of the frame. So I always like to pull 1 or 2 frames out that it's, not brood or nothing. And then go and then look at the other ones alongside of it, a couple of them. And
when I went in that hive on Wednesday, we had 71 degrees. It was warm. Yeah. And I knew Friday was still supposed to be like 60 degrees. So I knew they'd still be, warm enough to tighten it all back up.
Mm-hmm. Now, Grammy said they're going to have a light freeze. Now, I think Lisa's down in Alabama is close to Bruce, his bees. Yeah. I know she helped him out. That's pretty, Bruce been talking about 75 degrees or more, and all that. But that's pretty warm. And he did them splits down there that he just did last night, that video he put out, I guess. I don't know whether that was Valentine's Day split, I believe.
Yeah, I think that's what he said. And
all that. I listened to that, or was actually looking at that on my phone last night, and that kind of stuff. We got Tim. There he is, Southwest Wild Bees.
Hey, Tim.
Hey, Tom, Charlie, how you doing?
Good. So what's the weather like in your neck of the woods?
Oh, I'm not far from Tom, so.
Oh, okay.
The other end of the city.
We're bee neighbors.
So have you been in the hive? I see. Did you have a hive tip over? I seen on the video.
It didn't tip over. I knocked it over.
How did you do that?
Well, I set up some new stands here recently, and they weren't level. And the wife said I should get my son to help me level. And well, I'm not much for patience. Decided to do it myself.
Hmm.
And of course, she told me I told you so when I came in the house. So
Oh,
Yeah.
well.
Heard
they
that
seem to be doing
before.
fine. Only time will tell, but we'll see.
Hey, Keith. Yeah, I mean, did the bees look good as far as when you're trying to put them back and all that stuff?
Yeah, they did. I wish I had been. And you talked about being in the hive. I wish I had. We had what, Tom? Is close to 70 Wednesday, something like
Yeah,
that.
I had 71.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wish I had
it was
gotten in the
just,
hives that day. I looked at, checked the feed, that kind of stuff, the fondant, but I didn't get in the. I wished I had.
I just
But
got
I
in
don't
the
think we're going to
one.
get that kind of temperature for a while yet.
I was concerned it was running out of food, and it was running out of food.
Well, what concerns me this winter is I think they're going to brood early this year.
I had three frames.
Yeah,
Well, really,
you
right
got to worry about
now.
food. You got to worry about food now and that's what I'm worried about
Yeah.
is the food for
Yeah,
this winter, because winter's not over.
Yeah,
No,
well, I
no.
mean, like we were just saying here, Maryland and Ohio are kind of equal when it comes to weather. And I've always found maybe, I don't know, let's say 2 or 3 inches of a cat brood pattern. Let's say second week of February. And then it was ringed with eggs around it.
I had
So I
two.
wouldn't be a bit surprised to see brood in a hive right now.
I had 2 frames completely filled with cat brood.
And that's,
Summertime full.
yeah, you're talking about deep frames, right?
Yeah, deep frames and
Okay.
one open brood frame, and they had
Hey.
2.5 frames of pollen, so they had plenty of pollen. They just didn't have much honey left.
Yeah, I wished I would gotten in the hives to see what I have going in there. A couple of my hives that were really weak going into winter, they appear to be really active. Those warm days, they seem to be some of my most active hives right now.
Yeah. I don't have problems overwintering nukes in our area.
Hey, Cajun or Brad.
Yeah, I work. I still work, so I got home a little after 4 o'clock, and I was able to get into one hive basically before it got too dark. So
Yeah, the maple trees are all starting to bud here, so
yeah,
it's just a matter of time.
That's a good 2 weeks early.
Yeah,
it's usually early March.
Yeah, hopes 4 to 5 weeks ahead of schedule. Well, they're down in South Carolina. They're probably getting warm. They're close to where Bob is and all that, and all snow melting here.
Hey, Charlie, you got stuff blooming in your area? Did silver maples and that?
Nah, well, yes, my maples, they have like the buds, pretty tall buds.
Okay.
I don't think they've opened up though.
Yeah, ours is open.
The last week or so, I haven't went out there and looked at them recently, but if they keep saying here on the weather, that local weather, it's going to be, 50, 60 to 65 degrees throughout the whole week. And it never seems to, do that. It'll go
right.
one day that's really nice. And then it just takes a nosedive. Just like a couple of days ago, it was 55 degrees, maybe close to 60. And then now it's going down in the 20s tomorrow morning.
Right. We're supposed to
by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, 22 forecast for us. Supposed to clear out.
Grammy wants to know, is anybody here where the train derailed at?
No.
That's up north east Ohio.
But Cincinnati just closed all their inlets for the water. They're going to close them for a week because some of it's passing through Cincinnati right now. So it's gone down the Ohio River. Guess in a couple more days to be down.
What happened? I don't. You have to keep catching me up on the train wreck. What's that all about?
There's nothing to worry about there. Just live life as normal. Nothing to worry about at all. Don't worry about the mushroom cloud.
Why? It's something that
It was there was a chemical train, a train with chemicals on it that wrecked, and they decided to burn it, and it put a huge mushroom cloud up. And then they decided, oh, that was a bad idea. And now fish are dying, chickens are dying.
All the fish are dying in the creeks and rivers.
And the U.S. government are saying, yeah, maybe we'll look at it, maybe we won't, type of thing.
Yeah. So a disaster turned, I mean, an accident, or maybe I don't even know if it was that. I think it was maybe even intentional. I mean, there's a lot of questions about it.
A lot of speculations. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of speculation.
Yeah. I love how the governor of Ohio and Pennsylvania endorsed the idea of burning.
Yeah.
And then after they did it, they're saying, oh, that was a bad idea.
Yeah. They had no idea what kind of chemicals was coming out of those tankers.
Well, they should. Everything's supposed to be placard and everything else.
Well, the chemicals released was outlawed in World War I. That's how bad it is.
That mustard gas?
No, it's a different. It wasn't mustard. It's one worse than that. And they put it all up. It was a big mushroom cloud.
Yeah, they can see it from space. There's photographs you can see online.
Yeah.
I don't know. It don't make sense to me. I mean, down here in our county, we have Aberdeen Proving Ground, which they had a mustard plant down there. I mean, it's been there ever since World War I, or even prior to that. Or actually, there is.
A lot of people don't know. Just east of Cincinnati, it was a big uranium plant. They had 11 lines. I actually recommissioned 5 of them about 10 years ago on a little secret project I was doing. Top secret, but it's not top secret anymore. Uranium plants. So if I'm glowing, you know why.
Turn off your light there, Tom, so we can see.
There you go. I only went in the building once, and I had to be, gear up completely, all the PPE equipment. I was able to do everything semi-remote in the plant.
Yeah. So everything else going good in your hives, Tim? That you know of?
That I know of. Anxious to get out there. The weather is just staying just below where I can get into them.
Yeah.
It's staying. It's warm enough the bees are flying, but cold enough that I don't want to get into them.
Mm-hmm.
They're bringing in pollen.
Keith says, was it vinyl chloride, Tom?
Yeah, vinyl chloride. And then when it mixed up in the cloud, it turned into oxide chloride or something. I forget the chemical name, but it's deadly to humans and animals. And from what I heard, the whole wildlife population is gone, all dead, and up to like 4 to 5 miles.
But it's okay to go back to your house.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it was pretty bad.
Hey, Nancy, you there?
Charlie. Hi, guys.
Hey, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
So should I make the big announcement, Nancy?
What's the big announcement?
You're selling your ProVap?
Oh, yes. I'm going to try and sell my ProVap. My InstaVap.
InstaVap. That's it.
InstaVap, I believe. Yeah. And 2 chargers, 2 batteries and 2 chargers come with it. I have pictures, but I didn't officially post it. I put it out to a couple of my my buddies and asked them to put it up on. But yeah, it works great. I've only had it maybe 6 months. It just doesn't work great in my yard.
So it's got she's got 2 DeWalt battery packs. I got a picture here I'm looking at. It's 6 amp hour batteries. And like she said, have you even had it 6 months? Maybe like 3 or 4 months?
I've had it since the fall. I've had it since I think September. But
what problems did you have with it, Nancy? What isn't working for you?
No problems it's not a problem with the VAP or the batteries. It's the problem the way I have my hives set up. I have to have them up on blocks because in my environment, I'm a stone's throw from a quarry that blasts on a regular basis. So I have to configure my, yeah, I mean, it's been fine, but so the problem I have is each, it's my yard and how I have my hives configured that makes it a pain. But the VAP itself is perfect. It's nothing wrong with it. No problems whatsoever. It's just the way I had, you know. So I'm gonna try to unload it. I'm gonna try to sell it. And I'm selling it at, I mean, I'm not really giving that much. It's like the tax, I guess, is, but I'm selling it for, 400 and something in the batteries and the charger. So it comes to $850 for the whole deal.
Yeah, because
I used mine for the first time last week. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, it is cool. But each hive I go to, I have to have a separate setup because of how it's configured, and I have to put it up on a stand, and it's just, it's me.
Right.
It's my yard.
Yeah, I probably will never get one. I ran electric out to my yard, so I just got me a little extension cord, and I can reach all my hives.
Well, I bought before that was ever invented, I had a ProVap. I still got a ProVap.
Yeah, that's what I have.
And I have, over the several years, I brought a Honda generator. And so I've changed my treatment program to where instead of me doing it twice a week, every week, or once a week, every week, I went and did it like twice a month throughout the winter time and do other things like Formic Pro and Aprivar. And then this coming year, I want to try Apriguard. I've got a tub of that. And I think I want to do 25 grams for 4 continuous weeks.
Okay.
And
That's kind of what I'm actually changing the Apriguard this year too. Last 2 years I used Formic Pro, and I was just switching it up a little bit to see the difference.
I usually 3 different products. So August is pretty hot. It's probably our hottest months. And I did get a nice window of opportunity there for my Formic Pro application of 2 strips, but I'm going to do the Apriguard, I think, at that point in time, because I'm watching Bob Benny and he's saying, okay, it's going to shut the queen down. So you don't want to do that closer to the end of the year.
Right.
So
maybe I'll doing mine late July.
I think I'm going to do mine. I'm going to try to get in there like mid-July,
Okay.
Put that on there for 4 weeks, then come right behind that with maybe Formic Pro if I get a window of opportunity, and then hit them with oxalic acid throughout the winter time, October, November, December, January. I've got them. Let's see, I did it here in February, the 1st of February, I guess it was. So I think January was the only month I didn't make it because it was too cold.
Right.
And all that. So
I just hit them in November or December, and I actually did one in January, but I haven't done any since, and I probably won't, because I know they can't have many mites in it after treating them last fall and been hitting them with acetic acid.
Yeah, the treatment I did last week, I pulled the boards this weekend, and there wasn't much of a mite drop.
No, that was
I really didn't expect there to be.
Right.
I went back after this last Formic Pro or oxalic acid treatment, and I didn't see any mites. And I didn't even see any mites when I was cleaning those drop boards off from the 3rd treatment. So I'm good to go there. Plus, I did get a report back from the government, from the National Honeybee Survey. They did a test back in, I guess it was late October, 1st of November. I had 2 mites out of 1,100 bees out of a mite wash. So they gave me a 0.2% mite infestation, which is excellent. So that was good.
Right.
Let you say 1,100 bees.
Yeah, out of 8 different hives.
Oh, okay, okay, that makes more sense.
It's
Okay.
the way this thing is set up is the Bee Informed Partnership and and APIS, something another, National Honeybee Survey. Now, this is a survey that's taken across the United States, mostly I'll say from the Mississippi eastward. And they take a sampling. Got to have a minimum of 8 hives. You got to have at least that many hives. So they take a sampling of live bees. They take a sampling where they put it in an alcohol wash. They take the brood frames that are cap brood, and take a stainless steel tray that's, sanitized and all that, and she'll take your frames and whack them on that tray to knock out the pupae and all that, and then she'll gather all that up and put it in a container. They send the live bees to Beltsville, right down the road here from me, about 45 minutes to an hour away, close to DC, Maryland Bee Lab. And they do all the testing. Now, I have only gotten half the information back. They did a visual of like K-wing and all these, different things. That was all negative. They did the alcohol wash, was a 0.2 infestation percentage. Didn't seem to have any tracheomites or nothing like that. They didn't do AAA labs. They didn't see anything like that. And then the other things that they're going to do, which will be down the road when they get the time, I guess, is the virus infections, any type of, viral type of thing, and or pesticide type of stuff, I think, in the bees. So that's the second part.
Yeah, I think that hive that I checked yesterday, the one I mentor, I think that got hit by some kind of spraying or chemicals. Because there was a lot of dead bees outside the hive where they tried to get out.
All right, Randy wants to know, why would I use Formic after treating with Apricard? I really don't have an answer there, but except that I find that and they pretty much tell you anymore, you need to treat with at least 2 to 3 different products. And I find this way, you got to treat basically, if your Honey Super Zane on, I treat the rest of the year. And I keep my mite levels low. So hopefully, hey, Earl. And
Earl, you're right.
And all that. So I've got low mite levels. So as far as Formic Pro goes, you got to remember that they say 80% of the mites are underneath the cappings. If you put 2 strips in, it will penetrate the wax cappings, whereas 1 strip will not penetrate fully the cappings. Now, that's not my opinion. That's Dr. Sammy Ramsey's scientific knowledge that I am getting it direct from the horse's mouth, because I had him come into my club through Zoom, I think about a year ago. Something that he had learned over in, where was it? The other country across where they have AAA laps. Well, anyway, they put Formic in over there, and then I think he found out that it doesn't penetrate the caps unless you use both strips. And I think that's where he figured it out at. And so anyway, I do that. So I'm killing the mites underneath the cappings. Apricard, I presume, is more of a agent to kill the what do you call it, thoracic mites, which are on the bees, like oxalic acid is. And the biggest thing that changed my protocol is Benny had the young science lady, I forget what her name is, Jennifer Berry.
Yeah.
And she made the same statement that how I thought about it worked. Whereas like Aprigar or Aprivar. If Aprivar is a thoracic mite treatment, it only kills the mites on the bees themselves, not underneath the cappings. But it's in there 24 hours, 7 days a week, and it's killing them constantly. And
Right.
whereas I thought in previous years, I would treat twice a week with oxalic acid, and I would kill the mites as they're coming out of the cappings, getting onto the bees. And I figured every 3 to 4 days, I would be able to successfully do that. And 1 year, as I'm kind of looking back at it, I'm not sure whether or not, I don't think my hives really starved, but they were gone. Like you had dead bees on the bottom board, but everybody was gone, left the hive. Well, that's from what I gather here in the last several years, evidence of, mite loads and stuff like that. So I developed a new program where I'm doing the Formic Pro. I'm doing this year Aprigard, and then I hitting it with oxalic acid because she said she did a test on Benny's video that had the same mindset as I did, and it did not work. Your mite load didn't go up, but it didn't go down. If it was at 8% infestation, it stayed at 8% infestation, but it didn't go down to 4% doing it that way. And then she said, she was talking about where people did all these treatments and they still died. Well, he says, if you didn't test like me a lot of times, and they were at a 12% infestation, it didn't go up, but it didn't go down either. So then they finally died because it was a 12%. So then I changed my program where I do the 2 chemical based things. Then I do oxalic acid vapor in the middle of the winter time when I won't say that my bees actually go completely broodless, but they'll go as small amount of brood as possible. And then I hit them that way. Right. So far, it seems to be working. Anything to add to that, Nancy?
Yeah, I can't see the chat. How do you see the chat when you're actually participating?
Oh, you mean the thing off to the
comments?
Side?
Yeah, the comment.
Yeah, they're usually on the side.
Hit that
Right
comment.
near
Yeah,
the
I just
bottom.
see it.
Is there
It
a comment?
right.
Does it say top chat or something like that? A little clicker?
Yes, top chat.
But what did you click on? Chat?
Yeah, click on the chat, see what happens.
I see that, and then it goes to another window, and I see comments, but no chat. So I was just curious because I can't see. Oh, I think I might have seen it there, but comments. Here you go. So what I do, I'm north of Philly, like an hour, say. So I'm about 2 hours north of Charlie. And for my yard, what is working is I was doing Formic as a 1 strip of Formic as a knockback, and then followed that up with vaporized OA vapor. And then as my colonies got bigger and stronger, now I use the 2 strips of Formic. And I had a 10% queen loss, which I don't think is,
not bad.
There's a theory that says that, your queens were already on their way out, and the Formic, and I use Formic after I pull the supers off in July. So, and then after the Formic, I'll put another super on for them. We don't have a fall flow up here where I'm at. So
neither do I.
Everything they bring in after is theirs. But so I had a 10% loss with Formic. And I don't know, that just gives me time then to equalize or bring new queens in. So if you do it early enough in July, I think the benefit of, getting rid of your mites and then being able to requeen for me is an okay thing to do up here.
Right.
I'd rather replace my queen or have my queen fail than have the whole hive fail because of mites.
Hey Nancy, I did the exact same thing last fall. I put Formic Pro, I think the third week of July. I had already grafted, and so I put new queens in right after that. And
Yep.
I really only lost one hive, and that's because my lid started leaking. So when all the snow
Oh
landed,
dear.
it dripped down on the bees. So that
Yeah,
hive would have
yeah.
made it too. It was equipment failure.
Yeah. So then
Somehow
that's not.
I think
Mhm.
when it got really cold, the wood shrunk and split somehow, and it warmed back up. It split.
Oh, hi,
Yeah.
Laura. Laura's
Yeah, Laura's
on.
on. Yeah, Laura's on.
Yeah.
Laura's
I
in.
have so many queens up here. I never have a problem making. I don't graft or do anything like that. I just do splits and walkaways, I guess is what we technically call them. But so I can breed out another queen very, very quickly. I don't need to go through the hassle of
Right.
pulling her out to treat. I just, I leave her in there. She makes it. That's great. If not, then I know I just need to pop in another queen from Marie. Now I don't put Formic on my 5-frame nukes. I don't use, so then I have those queens. I use ones in the little foil. What's that? The Apicard.
Yeah, Earl here says about the humidity plus the temperature about
He's
together
right on.
multiply the effectiveness of the Formic, and I'll have to agree with that. When I'm looking at Formic Pro, I want low to no humidity, and I want it below 80 degrees. They say 85, but I think if you get around 78, if you can possibly get that around that or 80 for let's say the first 4 days until the potency of that product diminishes, then that's what I call the window of opportunity. Low humidity,
Right.
low temperature, 78, 79 would be nice. And I feel like it's not going to damage your queens and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I'm
Right.
2 hours north yet. I mean, I'm in zone 6, but the very, very top of zone 6, almost zone 7. So I can't suggest Formic for other folks in other, areas of the country, but for me, I put it on late in the day when I know my temperature's dropping already, and then that first 12 hours, 15 hours is the coolest. And I shoot for 85 or below, but if I can put it on and I know the next 2 days, I put it on late in the day. So then I have the whole nighttime cooling for the initial shock of it. So
I'm more with Charlie. I like at least low 80s, no higher than 82 might be my max for the first 3 days. But that's usually why I wait till the end of July, because typically we have one cool. That's our first cooler week. Usually hits right around the end of July. And
Well, the last 2 years, like this year, we had a week in August. What happened to Nancy? And then the year prior to that, it was September when we had the decent weather, and I put Aprivar on in August, and then Formic Pro. This year I flipped it around and did it the opposite because of the weather conditions. But I like it. I like to be 80 or a little less, low humidity, and at least 4 days of that nice weather like that. Because I knew it was Labor Day. Here, she's back. Labor Day. What'd you do? Hit the wrong button?
yes, I did. I disappeared.
And so anyway, that's what I do is do it that way. I try to keep it. Now I did have a couple of queen issues this year, but I spotted one before I put that stuff on her and she was gone. And then there was another one that I found was queenless, but I looked at the brood frames and everything was hatched and gone. So there was another unviable queen in there as far as either she died or done something, because I don't think it swarmed for sure. Right. So And then what's Laura got here? Let's see what Laura says. I tried Formic Pro the first time. Like 2 temps would go to low as.
Oh, you lost a nuke. See, I haven't had the nerve to do that yet. Put it on, put one strip on the nukes.
I did lose 1 queen from 4 hives and 2 nukes.
Did you lose both nukes, Laura?
I've never tried Formic on a nuke. If I did, I'd probably do 1 strip and cut maybe a third
Actually,
of it
I
off.
did. I did. I put 1 strip on a nuke right over top of the brood. I didn't seem to have any problems. I lost a hive queen, and there we go. No, that's not it. Where is she at?
What if you have 2? Now you say a nuke, are you talking a 5 frame deep? Are you talking a double deep? Are you talking a deep and a medium? Like, you know.
It was 5 over 5. So it was.
So that's a 10 frame single ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
and it might have been where the brood might have been down in the bottom, and I'd put the pad in between, or it could have been up closer to the top, but I put the pad right on top, and all that.
Yeah.
So now, Laura, I lost a hive.
I lost a hive queen. The nuke survived.
Okay. All right.
So you never know.
Well, you never know.
It might be up to the queen and any other viruses I had previous.
Yeah. But you'd knock back your mites, right?
Well, you kind of look at it this way. I mean, if you don't treat with something, then you're going to lose the whole hive.
Right.
Or if you treat, there's a sort of a gamble somewhat that you might lose the queen. Well, but it's not the whole hive. Said.
And when we use Formic up here, it's in July, right when we're getting ready to make our winter nukes anyway. So, you know, you count your losses, you get your mites down, you count your queen loss, and then you just make that many more, you know, setups to replace.
Right.
Yeah, beekeeping, gardening.
Formic. So it all kind of just rolls together, you know, as part of your management. No Formic Pro in the spring. I only use that in. I don't really have any mite problems in the spring up here.
That's where I'm at. I do it in the fall.
Yeah,
I do it July, August, somewhere's after I take the honey supers off.
Yeah, that's how I am. Because usually by spring, I don't have many mites or no mites. And by then I'm putting the honey on them, and I don't want to treat then. So as soon as the honey comes off, it's time to treat them again.
Yeah, and then as you get your winter decline, September, October, you're just really nailing away with the vaporizer, and just by, you know, September, October, you're really hitting them. November, you're really hitting them, and then you should be able to ease up by December. Last year, the last one I hit was January 19th. I hit them with OA, and now this year I think
we had a warm week. Yeah, I didn't remember the date. I know it was middle of January. We had a good week, and I hit them just for one last one.
I didn't hit them since I haven't hit them since December, because I did my my drops, and my drops were pretty good. Like they weren't alarming for me to have to do all that in January then after hive life.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends where you live, but they talk about, especially down south, where they're having mite issues while the honey supers are on. And well, I guess what it is, they have a fall flow. I guess that's what it really is. And they're trying to treat and then do a fall flow crop too. And I think that's
we don't have that problem.
Different, huh?
I said we don't have that problem with fall flows.
Yeah.
No, I don't have any fall flow here. No. And all that. As far as the springtime, I mean, I know, what is it, Ian, or different ones? I've seen them where they treat prior to the flow, But
Yeah, he puts that strip in. Ian puts that strip in, but I don't know. It might have to do with that. Would be interesting to look at his upcoming videos or this time last year, and it might have to do with him overwintering in the shed. He
Right.
might have a little twist that he has to do that we don't, or maybe we should be doing that as well. But I just don't have the numbers to treat in the spring.
Well,
I just
I've
don't
been
have 'em.
asking the Brad and James from up there in Canada about their flow and single brood chamber management and how they do this and do that and what I have found out is that in Canada their honey flow starts the 1st of June. So
All right.
we're done by that time.
That'd be
And
great.
then another thing is they're coming out of the winter shed and they have that hive. They put a box on top. Then they pull that surplus brood off the top and maybe stick a queen cell or a mated queen in there. Most likely queen cell with what Ian's doing. So that reduces the swarm mode. But you got to remember what's happening on June 21. You got the summer solstice. So now the queen is starting to go the other way as far as being a swarm management issue because you're starting to, slow down. At least around here they do, and up there it's got to be kind of the same way. So environment, where you're located, environment is a huge thing. It's just like us watching Bruce down there in Alabama. It's 75 degrees and he's doing splits and everything else. Well, he's 2 months ahead of us.
Right.
At least a month, 6 weeks at least, So there's a difference in it at all. So are we doing any printing jobs, Tim, or anything like that, or carbon? Or what did you do about that tag that you had to do for those tractors and stuff?
Oh,
I think
yeah.
I would have walked away from that job.
No. That's still working. That I think I've got that down now. The guy's out of town for the rest of the month, but no, I think I've got that taken care of. I'm a perfectionist. I don't like giving up on something that looks impossible. It's to my detriment sometimes, but
I'm pretty much the same way.
Well, what I'm getting at,
give me a challenge, and I'm all in.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were saying about originally probably it was what do you call it, punch pressed.
It was. But
I would think you would have to go to somebody and say, okay, you got to make a die for me, and if you want it exactly.
Yeah, it's not 100%, but it's darn close. It is darn close. So when he gets back in town, I'll show him what I've got, and we'll see if it'll meet his specifications. But I look at it and it looks. It's hard to tell him the difference. I mean, you can tell it's not punched. There's nothing I can do about that, and he knows I'm not punching. So, given that, it should suit his needs.
Mm-hmm. Well, hopefully he'll like it.
Yeah.
We shall see.
I don't know. It's like I had a job here. I had a guy who was doing restoration work and needed flooring, and he brought some southern yellow pine in here for tonguing and grooving. And I told him, I said, yeah, as long as it's an inch thick, I can run it through my molder and make it. No problem. I happen to have a thing set up for it because I had another job I was doing. And I said, we could probably do it while you wait, Well, then he gets here's finished board, and 3/4 of an inch thick. And I'm like, well, that sure throws a whole wrench in the cog. And, so I started using this one machine that we normally use for something like that, which just didn't, just didn't do very well. Hey, Sean, good to see you. And so anyway, I ran one piece through it. It was okay. And the second piece was kind of a wavy line, and that tongue and groove did not work. So I wound around. I actually set up my German molder where I can run the sides up, and tweak it down to perfect. So I got it ran, and I called him up. I said, I got these two boards. One of them's got the tongue. It's a little fat, but you can kind of scrape it down. It'll work. He said, we'll probably fit in the original stuff. And then I said, the other one, only thing I can do is cut it down to where it's a 6-inch baseboard and then run it through my good machine. So that's what I did. Now, even then, there was a bow in that board, and it went off track and all that. So, but I could get it go, had it to where I put it against another board and it would go into the tongue and then the groove part of it. So it worked out fine. So I got that all done, and I got my molder back to where it's servicing all four sides back within a couple thousandths of an inch, which helped out good. So that's what I did today. But, I got at least the guy's going to be happy with it.
Yeah.
Keeping,
Well, I haven't made a whole lot of noise about this, but I'm running a brand new test to stop mites for my second season. Last season, it worked on just one hive, and now I'm expanding to 8 hives. And it's no harsh chemicals. And actually, it doesn't kill mites. It just stops female mites it stops so they can't breed. And then you hit them with oxalic acid because they're not under the caps, because they're not going to lay any eggs or have any young. So
that's a nice looking screenshot, Nancy. I'm glad you.
there you go.
Yeah,
And
yeah, that's it wasn't mine, but that's a setup because that's a queen. That's a queen
Yeah,
on a flower.
I like the idea of the Southeast Pennsylvania, which is good.
Yeah, to give some. Well, I got that off of Tim Southwest, so I thought, well, so people kind of know where you're yakking from. But
Yeah.
Tom, what did you say? Your new
I did some reading on mites a couple years ago, and there's a process where you can introduce. I won't call it a chemical, a substance that will stop a female mite from being reproductive temporarily. And she will not then go into a cell because she can't be productive. And it keeps them out of the cells, and then you can hit them with oxalic acid vapor. And I did that last year on a hive, and I had no mites in that hive. So I'm going to eight hives this year, do a more scientific test.
So when you going to tell us more details about this?
When I get better, if I get good results this summer.
Okay.
then I'll be patenting it and going to the FDA. I really don't need to because it's not really a harsh chemical. It's not even. I guess it's a chemical, but it's a really common chemical.
Yeah. I got a thing here.
Go ahead, Charlie. Go ahead.
It doesn't kill any bees. It doesn't kill any mites, but it stops mites from being reproductive.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of kills mites if they can't be reproductive.
Well, yeah, but it just keeps them. They can't multiply. So one mite goes in a cell, and only one comes out.
So the female mite goes in and lays the eggs. So it keeps her from it makes her infertile, I guess.
Infertile. That's correct.
And then,
so you've invented the pill for the mite, huh?
It makes them infertile temporarily.
Yeah, but I say that you invented the pill for the female mite.
Yes. And if you read some of their old books on the mites, you might be able to figure it out.
Hey,
so
Brad.
is it the male that stays in which is the one that never leaves the hive? Is it the male? Because the brothers and the sisters mate then, but one of them actually leaves the cell and goes out and cruises around the hive and goes sporadic, and then but one never leaves the cell. I don't know if that's the female or the male.
I think it's
Brad says it's a male. from up.
The male never leaves the cell. Okay.
Yeah, that's what Brad said.
Well, any mite can become a male or a female from the female when she lays her egg.
Well,
So-
Brad says the male never leaves the cell. That's what he's saying.
Right. So the females are the ones that leave and then go and cruise around and find. Okay. So the phoretic or the foundress, is that the female?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
The
But-
foundress, I think, is the female.
When you find out how simple this is, you'll be amazed. And it'll work like Formic Pro. It'll be in a strip. You put 2 strips in the box, buy the brood, and you don't have to take them out either. They'll become ineffective after about 3 weeks.
So what were you doing to test this? Were you, I mean, your mite count's low, or what were you using to judge?
I just took one of my typical hives, and it never got even up to 1%. I mean, I never got, when I did my I do Dawn soap test, I never got a mite the whole year. So it never got mites. And I treated them 3 times because you can have honey on them because it doesn't there's no chemical to affect the honey.
You could be, we're sitting in the presence of a wealthy man if that happens.
Yes. I can't wait. I wish I would have done more tests last year.
Well, the thing of it is if that's true, then you finally found a delivery method where the rest of these science guys haven't figured it out yet.
Yeah, and I read it from their articles.
We've got something like that we use in pest control. It's but
Can you hear me?
Yep.
but they
We
use
got
it.
you.
All right, wait. I got to say this. I've been dying to get in here to say this. Dr. Sammy, the guy who discovered that mites were feeding on the fat bodies and not so much the hemolymph, has made a new discovery. And if you've not listened to Beekeeping Today podcast with his interview, then you might have missed what he has found out. And what he has found out is that, in essence, there's a phoretic mite. Phoretic means to be wandering about, and that's not actually the case, because the mite must first, the female mite must first attain a certain amount of adult vitellogenin from an adult bee, and then after attaining that vitellogenin, she can then go into the cell and obtain a vitellogenin from the larvae. And the reason is it's called kleptomitosis, and the mites are all sterile. Females they're all sterile until they can get these vital egg yolk precursors from the adult and the younger bees, be it the adult bee and the larvae. She has not the ability to reproduce. She will then lay a male, reproduce with that male, and begin to lay eggs within that very cell. But until she receives those 2 very vital, important vitellogenin proteins, egg yolk precursors, she cannot do it. And it's called kleptomitosis. And this is one of Dr. Sammy's latest discoveries. What's up, Mark Miller, my brother, and Bob, Charlie? Good to be here with you guys.
All right.
Sebastian,
Good. I
good to
wanted
meet you. And Tim, I don't really know you, but good to be here, brother.
Hey, Earl,
Yeah,
you're
welcome,
kinda right
Sebastian.
on the right target.
Yeah.
Of what
Welcome,
my little
Sebastian.
thing is.
You're from the UK, and I think you're the first time on our channel tonight, but welcome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Where about are you, I guess, in England area?
Yeah,
or
when you
Go ahead.
yeah, I'm in South
Okay.
England, so yeah, I'm in the South of England of in Southampton, so it's quite
You
warm
look
area.
perfectly
We
normal.
don't have
So it's
we don't
about
have
3
much
o'clock in the
winter
morning?
here, so
You're about 5 or 6 hours ahead of us?
yes, it's 2 o'clock in the night.
Yeah, 5 hours. Yep.
He just left the
Yeah.
pub.
So no. funny actually is I work at nights, guys, and so for me, Bob, no, but for me, sleep during the day, it's the night for me. When you sleep, it's opposite way. So I'm in the same boat as you. So my life
Gotcha.
is like you. So I listen lots of chats, and I follow a lot of beekeepers from your place.
Yeah, we used to
guys.
have Phil. He was from up in Northern Ireland, but I haven't seen him in a couple months. He was always on
Yeah.
Bob's channel. Bob has a channel on Tuesday nights at 8 o'clock,
Yeah,
our
I know.
Eastern Standard Time in the United States.
Great show, man. Got to be there to see that. That's
And
a
then,
must see.
like I say, I have one here on, well, every Friday night. I think I'm not going to be here on the 10th of March, but other than that.
Oh, that's our 1 year anniversary, 10th of March.
Oh, really? Yeah, there's a friends of mine.
Bob, how's your legs doing?
Well, I'm just starting to itch on my arms right now. You see that's
Okay.
coming.
How many stings you have, Bob?
Oh,
I
over
wish you hadn't have brought that up. I'm going to
Over
have nightmares. He sent me a picture, and I've seen people with freckles that
Well-
didn't have that many red spots.
is there's no nudity in this picture I'm getting ready to show y'all.
And I'm Irish.
That's some of y'all, but
All right, go ahead, Bob.
hold on. So, tidy whities, if they offend, I apologize in advance.
You just want to show off that bulge in that package. That's all you're doing. I done seen this picture.
let's
I know
keep it-
what he's doing. He's showing
All right,
off, y'all.
Let's keep it clean.
Well, when he shows
that's
this,
one
it's not
leg.
going to be clean.
That's one leg.
Wow. Wow.
That's a
And
lot
that's
of
your
stings.
arm, right?
Had 100
No, that's
stings.
my right leg.
That's your right
He
leg.
had
okay.
more stings in the top of his legs than I have seen on anybody ever. And
And
my
that's my left
grandfather
leg.
used to get stung a lot.
So did they sting you through your long pants?
Yes. Through my long
Wow.
pants, I've got the gloves that are ventilated, right?
Yeah, they'll go.
I had them
through
pulled up
before.
over my jacket, but they were stinging through the ventilated holes
Yeah.
in
Well,
my
them stings don't hurt as bad.
I'll tell you one pair of gloves you never want to wear with your bees, and that's those mechanics gloves, those nylon mechanics gloves.
You guys want to
Those
laugh at
things,
something?
they destroyed me. I like couldn't get them off quick enough.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to show you something.
Bob's coming back here.
Yeah.
So,
Couple years-
Sebastian, how
I
many
thought he was
hives
going
do
to
you
show
have?
us the same picture he showed me, Charlie. I didn't know.
A couple years ago, I had a laying worker hive, and I went to the other side of the yard, and I dumped them all out. So I had a big pile on the ground, and I was just wearing jeans, and I had my jacket on though, because I know laying workers aren't the nicest bees. And I had a skunk run out in front of me, so I stepped back, not even thinking about it, and stepped right on him. And I think each leg I took, I don't know how many stings. But for about 3 days, my lower legs were numb. I couldn't feel anything.
I got a care package in the mail today. Now, I was doing the cutout yesterday. Saracel sent me a full beekeeping.
You hadn't got stung so many times. I would so make fun of you right now.
They must have next day aired it to you.
No, he had sent me some stuff out. I just didn't know this jacket.
Could you imagine suffering 200 stings one day and the next day you get a full bee suit?
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going there tomorrow to finish it up. So I had to leave. My hands, I couldn't close my hands. Nothing. And I had on my Guardian. They were stinging me in the back of my head through the
They
veil.
can kill you.
I
Just
tell you,
because you do not have an allergy doesn't mean a numerous amount of stings cannot kill you. They can.
he's got.
Was it free?
Otherwise, we wouldn't be afraid of
Bob, that's a free medicine.
bees.
That's
Yeah,
a free medicine, man.
What is it,
Oh, yeah.
Bob? What is that? Night or what's the stuff?
EpiPens.
EpiPens.
Yeah,
Aren't those
the
like a
bee-
lot of money?
No antibiotics.
Oh,
So
no.
Sebastian, how many hives do you run in England?
So I'm running around about up to 30 hives. I put 30 hives in the winter. So
Okay.
far, I lost couple. And it's all about Varroa. One queen failed because it was all queen. I put her in and she was fair. One actually, what I do that. So there was one guy who asked me on YouTube. He asked me because I have queen, which is 5th season. We could believe me or not, 5th season she is. And but what I done in the last 2 seasons, I moved her every time for the winter in a nook. So she managed the colony a lot better, and it's quite more warmer and everything. So this nook, it's power. I just been actually a couple of days ago opened a nook, and I could like
Makes
I was like,
perfect sense.
wow. She's in still very good strength, but I will requeen her this year in the spring
I
because I
think
don't
when
want
you
to
put
go
them
risk.
in that nuke, not only are they more happy, like Charlie's been telling us, but you
Yeah.
know, you got 10 frames. That's a lot of laying. You reduce that down to 5 or 6, and then you go up. That's less of an area that she's going to have that's temperate enough for her to raise brood. And so you
So
the less she's laying, the more she can lay, because let's face it, she only has an infinite amount of a finite, amount of sperm through which she can
so
make
she
babies.
come.
Go
She is a
ahead, Sebastian.
she's pure Carnolian Queens, and she
Pure
was
cannoli.
yes, she was breaking directly from Slovenia. This
Oh, really,
queens,
Sabina?
yeah, they are very it's very difficult to get them here UK, and I get that time because they've been exporting. One of the guys was exporting them here, and I managed to
That's a
get
Russian
two
bee,
of
right?
No,
The
it's
Slovenian.
So that
yeah,
Slovenia. They're next to Italy, right?
Poland, Poland,
Poland.
It's like you
yeah,
got
And
Poland.
they isn't that where the government they want to try to keep their queens pure.
Up, yes, that's
And
right.
if
Correct.
if
Poland is
you
doing
find if
amazing
you
bee science.
find a queen, let's say it's an Italian in your hive, they will pay you. You can kill that queen if it's an Italian, not a Slovenian or
Yeah.
Carney, and pay you to keep that bloodline clean. That's how
I
serious
can
they
love
are
you
about.
some dead Italians. I mean, you can't have them live, but I can.
Well, what they're trying to do is that country is trying to keep their
native,
Own
bloodline of
strain beast. That's right. Yeah.
all the
right?
same bee is all
So
carny, and they have to be. What is that, Bob?
that's
Oh,
the
that's that
colony.
hive.
That's
That's
after
that
I
massive
vacuumed
hive.
for an hour and a half.
That
That's
now is
after
that
I vacuumed for an hour and a half.
hour and a half. Now is that inside a duck or something?
That is
Under
underneath
a house.
a double wide trailer. So I'm laying on my back like I'm under a
Right.
car.
On the other side of that black plastic, when you rip it open, he was like, ah!
This trailer was sold. It didn't even have black plastic. It had that pressed fiber board, the thin, and then you pull that down and there's insulation on it. And then once you pull that in, the board.
Wow.
But I took out my therm camera the first day when I was looking to locate it. The colony didn't look that big. And when I blocked off the holes from the outside and I started seeing how many foragers were backing up on the outside, I said, this thing's got to be massive when I got down in there.
So is the comb stuck to the floor?
To the bottom of the floor, yeah. But
Let's glad you're all right, man.
I seen your video, and I mean it was just bees just constantly coming off.
He's
Of it.
everywhere.
I cannot count how many times we used to have to go to the hospital with my grandfather because he would get eat up because he was on a cane. He couldn't go fast. He had braces on his legs like Forrest Gump, but that was because he'd come out of the World War and stuff and was messed up and out of the coal mines, but he couldn't run from them. And so he ended up at 30, 60. I never seen him covered up like what I saw Bob's legs. I never seen that.
Well, there's no, I mean, even if you run from them, they're just going to fly after you anyway. And this thing was cinder blocked under, right? So the guy had a 32 by 32 hole that I was climbing through with the BVAC and everything.
Your number one defense was suck them up.
Yeah, I was like,
get them off me.
That's enough.
So, Sebastian, what do you do for mites over there in England? What products can you use?
So I've been using lots of things, try them like everybody, but I have my plan already, and I use. So last season, which is season not last winter, last fall, Winter
Yeah.
before, I went 100% through the winter, and I done uppy guard straight away in after honey pull it off end of August. And then I use oxide acids in when the brood was no brood in the nest. So I hit them 3 times, and then I repeat that in January twice.
Okay.
And bees was absolutely crackers in the spring. I managed to get 1,000 kilo honey, which we're talking about 2,000 pounds.
2,200 pounds, right?
Yeah. So this is my record, I would say, and I'm really
Yeah.
really pleased. I managed
And
my.
you got that off of what, 30 hives?
It was
Kilo?
around about 25 hives. It was that time because I make a split.
That's huge.
Yeah, but
That's
I have
what's
colonies
that?
on. So when you watch Bruce chat, I don't know you did watch a Bruce chat. It was yesterday on the team. They've been Greg was talking about Brian, and they was talking about 1,000 kilo about this
100
hives
pounds.
very high. So I'm going to post the pictures, guys, what my hives are. So I'm telling you now, there's nothing wrong to get a powerful hive.
Right.
I learned from my dad when he was healthy man, beekeeping. That was years ago. I didn't been beekeeping for a long time, but I know when I learned when I was young, I know hives was massive. And from the massive hive, you could do anything what you want. You could make a split. You could make a queen's breeding. If you follow Mark Palmer tell you, big hive, it's a big money in your pocket. Because from the big hive, you could do anything what you want, especially when you're running on the same frames, everything. It's so much easy work to do. And
Yeah.
I done
Thank you
it
for that.
on
I
a
agree
backpass queen,
100%.
and I'm just shocked in that last year, how much we actually managed get pull honey from this colony. And I managed
How
breed
much-
from
how
her
much-
as well.
How much
So
drone
it was
comb?
really
How much drone comb did you already have, or how much did you draw from scratch, or was that amount of honey from drone comb that you had saved back and used again, or how did you acquire that amount of honey? Is what I'm asking.
what do you mean?
I think he wants to
The
know
amount of honey that you've amassed. Did you use drone comb or found
Yes.
comb that you had put back, or did
Oh,
you
So,
allow
so,
them to make any new comb?
so I did make a new combs as well, but it's
Well,
a
now-
lot.
I guess
Is
you
it-
would take that amount of honey you were actually extracting
Yes.
out of certain
Right.
amount, and then put that
Back
super
again.
back,
Yes.
back on.
Yes,
But he
that's right.
answered my question, and the reason I wanted to know is something that I've been blue in the face about talking about, and that is that you do have to leave the queen enough laying room. You do have to have that, yes. But if the queen has laying room and yet there's no room to build wax, then there's nothing for the wax bees to do, and therefore the democracy is
So-
going to say time to go.
So Charlie just mentioned very important point. All beekeeping say, if you don't give them jobs to do, the bees they will swarm, and that's very true. So it's what I do in the spring, checking boards. That's what I do in checking boards in the spring.
Okay.
Every year, I have
You-
always
you-
preparation frames,
Yes,
and I always get them checking boards. And someone say
Okay.
me no. So
yes.
I'm
Yes, yes,
friend
yes.
with guys. I'm friend with Mike Palmer. I'm talking to Mike Palmer for the last 2
Yeah, I
years
seen
now.
Mike was I was at a meeting, a conference last.
Did you hear what he said, Charlie?
Yeah,
He's
I
friends
know,
with
I heard
Mike
what he
Palmer.
said.
He knows Mike. Hey man, you got to hook me up with Mike. I got to be talking to him.
But
That's like my
anyway,
hero.
he
It's-
zoomed in at a conference that I was at last week.
Yeah.
So, but
But-
how did you meet Mike?
I'm jealous.
That was long story, short and long story. But that's I'm telling you something. When I was talking to him, and because he was in England many times, and I asked him about the double brood.
That's why he
Simba.
feeds so much fondant.
He said to me one thing. He said, if you do not put a double brood, you will not have honey, because the number of the numbers of the kilograms, whatever you want to get honey in there, you have to get the bees power. The only power you could have is a double brood.
So here you're saying you're putting 2 brood chambers and then the honey supers above that.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and he
So I have-
checkerboards, and then when he pulls that honey off, he's cutting that cap all off, so they've got to rebuild that every time.
Yes.
So they're always staying busy.
Exactly. Yes, that's right.
Well, you're
Yeah,
always
I-
reducing them back down to a single D
So
winterization,
normally-
or do you keep the double?
So normally I'll go to the apiary and I see the ready cup. It says 1 super or 2 supers. I'm just take them away, get them home, spin it, get back them straight away, and they will clean up, rebuild their work. You give them work, then I go thinking on swarm. There is some colonies that will swarm, but I'm clipping queens for last 2 seasons anyway.
Mhm.
I don't messing about, and I don't want like Bob looking afterwards, and someone called me, hey, can you remove the bees from Chimley? That's why I'm clipping. That's why I believe soon as the queen laying, she's laying really well. You could see she's got a lovely pattern of brood for a couple of weeks. Then that queen is ready to get clipped. And if she swarm, she would be on the front
Lawn.
the hive.
Yeah. Right.
And that's I believe that's one of the most important points now in our beekeeping industry, because there's a lot of bees on the chimneys, and all like Bob's have to remove get bloody had 200 stings in their one leg or whatever. That's not nice to get the guys to work, and that's expensive stuff as well to remove bees from places like that.
So if you got
Sebastian,
a good
I
stock
got a question.
of queens, you don't want to lose that stock either.
No,
All right,
absolutely.
Nancy, all right, Nancy's got a question here. Go ahead, Nancy.
Yes, come on, Nancy.
Yeah. So Sebastian, I started clipping my queens last year. So all my queens that were emerged after the summer, mated, and returned after the summer solstice. I've overwintered, and they're all clipped.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, this will be my first year that I have. So say she attempts to swarm and I find her out front because she's not going anywhere.
Yeah,
what do I
that's right.
do with her when at that point? Like,
Well, when she's
I
swarm,
pick her up.
come on.
I pick her up. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Nancy.
if she swarm, Nancy, if she swarm and she's on the front of the hive, just to get the brood, get the brood box, try and find out her, just put her inside the super or whatever. You could do whatever you want. You could put it in a nuke box, or you could put on in small ones, and you move them in and move to different place, and you got a colony still anyway. So she will be like fresh colony in there. But like Tony. Yeah, like Tom mentioned, you will not lose the stock. That is another thing as well, because if that queen is so good queen, there's a lot of factors can be in a swarm. You might when you make inspection, you might miss one queen cell, and then one queen cell could be affect you. That queen goes swarm. When you're running like me, running 30 colonies, when you do, I do every 7 days inspection. So when spring come, that's my day on. That's it. I'm not on holiday. I'm full-time working, and I'm be every 7 days and every single April through. And in fact, when you're speeding up sometime, and you might miss one swarm cell, and that's it. You got it, and you will get that queen will end up on the tree or somewhere. The better end up on the floor on the front of the hive, because that's your free. That's your free split.
I'm running 33 to 35 colonies now through winter. So, but I'm getting ready to sell off a couple of them. But I do kind of the same thing as you. I tackle about 4 or 5 hives a day, maybe 6.
Yeah.
But they're all at my house. So I'm in each one. If there's an issue, maybe a little more than 7 days, I'll be back and forth. But so if she does swarm, I think what you're saying is pick her up, get a good 2 frames of bees with her, put her in a 5 frame, go back into where she came out of, and get rid of the queen cells, all but like 2, right? Maybe 2.
Because I will treat her like swarm, basically. So I will. On her, I will put a nuke in there, Let her walk the bees to the nook.
Yeah.
Take the nook away anyway where you want an apiary or other apiaries, and that
Yeah.
colony will set up new.
Yeah.
The old bees will set up the nurse bees. They will set up a new queen there, which
So
probably that's why she swarmed, because there's already a marriage virgin
Right.
in there. So, and that's
Okay.
how we were done. I left them in a piece.
Good. Okay, cool.
But
Thanks. Because I didn't
Hey,
know what I was going to do once I found her outside the hive this spring. You know,
no.
I just wasn't sure what my I mean, I kind of thought what I would do, but it's nice to hear that what somebody else with a clipped,
So
queen
you know,
does.
it's we all deal with factors. There's people like people say you have to get plan. Yeah, of course we have all plans. Everybody have plans, but the bees have own book. You know, Nancy. They bees have read own book, and we have own book
Right,
as well.
right,
So I
right.
don't reading their book. I reading my book.
Hey, Nancy. Typically,
Yeah.
if you weed queen in the late summer after the summer solstice, those queens in their first spring will seldom swarm. I
Yeah.
mean, 90% of them will not swarm. So out
Yeah.
of 20, 30 hives, you might have one. I've done that now 2 years in a row, and I've had one swarm in 2 years.
Okay.
By
Well, my
requeening
swarms I think
in
are more
July.
about I think my swarms are more from a management issue than a breeding issue. But I'm learning. I'm 6 years or I'm starting my 6th year now. So each year I get better and I get less swarms, and
Oh, absolutely.
so
Yeah.
so I'm curious to see if the summer solstice, like you said, I have them all. I know where they're at, and it'll be curious to see if those do not swarm this 2023 spring. So
Right. They shouldn't. Most of them won't.
But always make sure you got nuke boxes ready. Plenty of
I
them.
got 7. I banged 7 of them together, and they're in the back of my car now, getting ready to go wax dip tomorrow morning, first thing. So I've got about 15 nuke boxes, or 5. I want to get away from calling them nuke boxes, because they're not nuke boxes until there's a nucleus colony in them. They're 5 frames. So I have 5 framers ready to get dipped, and I run 8 frames, so it's really not that big of a difference, but it is.
Nuke box.
Yeah, those are 5 frames. 5 framers.
Yeah, Bob got what, 20 of them today?
Yeah, and the stupidest thing, I got 12 of them together, and I said, "What am I doing?" They took up so much more room instead of stack. So I put 12 of them together in my living room. I'm like, wow, they took up a lot less space stacked up. So I got the rest of them are stacked up in the kitchen, and I moved these in here to my already packed room.
Those pro nukes you can put together in about 30 seconds.
Yeah, well,
why did you buy them, Bob? I mean, what's your?
I've got 20 nukes coming from Florida, but I get them cheaper when I move them to my own box when they get here. So,
well, don't you have a bunch of? Now, are they 5 or 3 framers? I thought they were 3 framers.
I am, but I'm putting 3 frames of brood and bees with a queen in there and 2 blank frames so they can draw them out, and in a few weeks later they'll be ready.
Don't you have a bunch of 5-frame wooden nukes that you already have to do that?
I do.
Are you gonna sell them in them, Bob?
Well, unless they bring their own box, it's $185 if they bring their own box to put them in. It's $205 if they're getting the pro nukes. So
yeah.
Just depends.
I run $215. If they bring their own box, I'll swap them out and take $15 off.
Plus, now I've got all these damn pissed off bees that will probably go into about 5 of them. I could probably make 5 nukes out of that colony and just give them a queen. So,
yeah, Bob's toys.
One second, I'll be back.
So that's the idea is.
I just have them bring their own boxes now. I don't mess with the corrugated nuke 5 framers. I just have them bring whatever it is. And I do deeps, a couple medium nukes for sale, but I do deeps, and I'm doing the sets this year, which I got a pretty good response off Facebook today. I'm going to go back and look at those again. But the 2 frames with the brood and the queen, but they're going to bring their own boxes, and I just put it in their equipment. It's just a lot less hassle.
Yeah, that's kind of what my guy's doing. That's bringing them up, but he's doing 3 frames with the mated queen. So, and he was doing them for the price of a package, and I said, but I don't want your 3 frame box. Oh, well, then I'll give them to you for $100 a piece. Great, I'll take 20 of them. So that's what I've got. So that's the so my goal was, if I can sell half of what I ordered in as nukes, then I paid for my other half that I'm gonna keep. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So
That's what I do.
Yeah.
free 10 nukes basically. So, and then I got this cutout that is more massive than it was.
So,
Go ahead.
I want to finish off something about the hive, the big hive.
Uh-huh.
So I manage from the 2 hives, what I managed to try and get them high as I could go with them. I managed over there 135 kilo of honey
Uh-huh.
of each one through the season.
125 kilos. So
yeah,
that,
of
all right,
honey.
guys, what's the calculation?
200
you have?
over 250
2.2
pounds of
pounds.
honey of
Yeah.
one hive, and that is something where we try and repeat this year again, because that is work. It's just you manage so you don't manage 3 things. You manage 3 swarming. They building your wax, and you could have you could get splits how much you want, or you could breeding queens, which I did breeding queens. I changed nearly most of my queens. I requeened them, new ones, and this year I'm going again. Who the queens, what they're not going to perform or should perform, they will be straight away to strike off to requeen it. So
Well, let me ask you this. Now, you say you're doing 2 deeps, 2 10-frame deeps, right?
Yeah,
As your
that's
brood
right.
chamber.
Yeah.
Now, I found when I did that the bees stored that top deep, the majority of it with honey, and maybe they chimneyed up the middle, with the brood, and then I would have a swarm issue there. Now, how do you counteract the swarm problem?
So not every queen will get you laying in both brood boxes. That's the key. I remember I was talking to Mark Palmer and I asked that question, and Mark said to me, "It's you have to know which queen is a powerful. You could see that in the spring, which colony you could actually get on double brood, and actually moving on and grow with the honey on there, and that is definitely work that way." Some of the colonies, they will not go for double brood because they will bring you, like you just mentioned, they will put a lot more honey in there and pollen, and they will not do more about that. They will just do honey only, and that's it. So, but the numbers of bees, what they produce in double brood is just wow, it's crazy. When you imagine there's a lot of work in inspection in hives like that.
Yeah.
But it's work a good way, because it's bring cash flow in the season.
Well, that's what I do. A lot of my way I'm doing it is, now I do mediums, which I have 2 mediums as my brood chamber, and I consider that single brood chamber. And then I put my honey supers above that. And then, like you say, every 7 days, I'm going in there, taking about half of the cat brood out and either putting it in a weak hive. I think this year I'm going to do a demery, which was where basically you put a brood chamber on top of your hive stack and put honey supers in between. And you're doing a roving, you're bringing the cat brood up to the top, let it hatch out, put the empty brood comb back in the bottom, so she's continuously laying and she won't swarm, because you're more or less managing the hive population in that brood chamber area. And I'm going to try that this year and see whether that works. And it's like one of our members down here said, when you're moving the brood from one hive to the next, that's kind of like a horizontal demery, as they call it, where I'm going to do more of a vertical demery and all that. Here's Kyle. Hi, Kyle.
Hi, Kyle.
You're
From
new.
New
I
Zealand.
mean,
That's Kyle from New Zealand.
no, from New
Wow,
Zealand.
Kyle,
Okay.
it's very warm over there.
Met her before.
Wow. Hello. Welcome.
We're definitely going international here today or tonight.
Great job.
We got New Zealand represented. We got the UK, and then we got the rest of the United States here. I know that Brad was on here. He's from Canada, so he's related to Kyle as far as the different, as far as being under the same Canadian rule, I guess it is, how that works. I'm not sure if that's right or not.
Looks like Kyle has got very warm over there today.
Yeah, turn your mic on, Kyle. Can we hear you?
His microphone, I think, was off.
I don't know. My microphone's not working.
His wife will be along to fix it in a second.
Can't hear you.
You trying
Hey,
to
Sebastian, you're talking about the big
Hey,
hive.
Laura.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. There. Kate says, I'm a popular beekeeper. We draw international. That's cool. But it's always good to talk to people across, different ways of doing it and all. That's what I like. That's what's good, to share ideas and techniques and stuff.
But I breeding, and I do breeding as well of Mike Palmer way system, and I find out really work. I last year was breeding queens. Quite few virgins people took away from me, and they so happy of the queens. And I'm doing this year a bigger scale. I'm going to sell them quite heavily on the virgins, because I know virgin is the best market. It's so much work. Like I was listening one of Corey interviews, Corey Stevens, about virgins, and that's a really good point. So much work you need to put in there to mated queens, and it's actually the best way.
I told you.
He's got.
She came to the rescue.
Sorry, Sebastian.
No, it's okay, Dicey. And basically they got the virgins is on the market heavily, and I could see the point in the virgins breeding virgins, because when I bring virgin to my operations, they're mated 95%. They're all mated in my area, and you know what you have. You mated in local drones, and that's what we want. So, yeah, that's in my side, my system.
So you're grafting, Sebastian. You're grafting
yes, that's right.
You're using a Chinese grafting tool.
Chinese grafting tools, yes, that's right.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing too. I'm going to try to do more of it. Tried to do more of it myself this year. It's a fun
to do it. If it's a good point where me and James and Bob and Lee was talking last time in live chat about the try. If you don't try, you don't know. And every guy should try. Even in the spring, you should take one of the frames. And Kyle has experienced bee farmer. He could tell you, if you not try, you won't be not success. You could try grafting very easy. And it can be done.
Yeah,
One of my favorite things in beekeeping is raising queens.
Yeah, I find it the most fun myself. Kyle, have you got it fixed?
Are you on, Kyle?
Nah, it doesn't look that way.
No.
Now, Sebastian, Mark Miller here, he's a queen breeder, and he's got
I
some.
can see that in the back.
Kyle, you're close. You're close, Kyle.
Huh?
There you go. He's close. He's close to it. Say something.
No.
No.
Turn it up.
You know
Turn
what?
the volume
He probably
up.
has to sign. If he goes back out and comes back in using his mic, I bet you if you go out and then sign back in, I bet you that'll clear it up, because you have your mic off going into.
Yeah, that's right, Nancy. Yeah.
He's got his mic off going into the stream there. So I've thrown myself in and out so many times tonight. I think I might have figured all that out.
Now, Sebastian, Mark Miller, he's a queen breeder. He also don't you have some of Corey Stevens's, Corey's breeder queens?
Yeah, I've got
Yes.
a breeder queen from Corey, and this year I'm gonna try crossing what I have now with them and see what comes about it.
Well,
What I've got now is carnies that I've been picking over for several years, and they're really good at overwintering, and
yeah,
I love them. I don't want to lose them. I'm not going to put all
yeah,
my eggs in one basket per se,
yeah,
but
that's right. Yeah,
we're going to see what comes about it, and then I'm going to check them and see how hygienic they are.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
go from there.
You could mark
Well,
them,
we got
mark them green and call them Franken Queens.
Yeah.
Mark, I was talking earlier about the my 5 years old queen. And she's a Carnolia. She's come from Slovenia, and I was talking about that. And so you know exactly this where they come from, how they in this country in Slovenia, how they not let any bees different strain in there, and how they protecting
yeah.
the Carnolias in the country. And
Yeah.
there's whoever they got the queens, and I remember Bob Viner, he was talking about the queens, it's so good and all that stuff, because they are being protected, they are clean bred, they're not a backfuss in there, or not other bees in there, and that's why they're so good. And I believe they're living in the mountains, there they come from the snow and all the stuff. It's very cold over there as well, and they are. I believe they're one of the best ones. I have Carnolis, quite few of them, but they're overwintering really well. So yeah, I agree with
Right.
you. I will not mix up yet with if I'm you.
I
Yeah,
run the same.
I'm trying to cross the VSH in with them
yeah.
Isn't
now.
Corey's more Italians breed?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Italians. Yeah.
Now,
Hi,
James,
okay.
we're getting representation from Canada. And then James, we got Kyle here. He's from New Zealand. And then we got Sebastian here from the UK. So we've got good representation across the world, I'll say. But yeah, that's quite. Now you say your queen lasted for 5 years from over
Fifth
there.
season. Yeah. If she managed to get to the spring, that'd be fifth year of her when I got her.
That's pretty much unheard of around
Yeah.
here anymore.
That means
Yeah.
you can paint her dot on her again, the same color.
I just go fingers crossed she's going through the spring to she's good still now. She's laying. I could see she's laying because the nook box is full. 6 frames is bees flogging up on everywhere. So that is a good signal, and she's
Right.
still good going. So
Do
but
you
I
remember
will,
what time of the year she got bred?
that was in October. I got her before October. End of September, October I have her. Very late in year I have her.
Okay.
Yeah. That was the.
Yeah,
Do you know what it was? It was actually I lost one of the nukes, and someone actually posted on Facebook. This guy have exporting Carnolius queens from Slovenia, and I said, so I messaged to them and I asked the question. I said, where did you get them? When roughly? And it would be. He said in 2 weeks' time we will get them here in UK. So I said, okay, can I have 2? So I took it 2. The one failed in the year after, and that one still there. So it's not. We can't get the queens here to like end of May. Now they're bringing in from Italy, but I don't want the Italy queens. Be honestly, from
Right.
Italy, I don't want Italians queens. I don't want to get any trouble with them. I don't want to. They swarm like mad. I know someone have from club bought some for Italians, and he put the queens in the spring. They're always gone. And he's like to me, asked me question, why did bees swarm? I said, where did they get them from? He said, well, they come Italians. They've been building so fast in the spring. They're so quick because they feel the
Right.
flow coming, and they just went. I was like, oh no. I don't want bees like that. Swarm bees, they're just bye. They
It
want them.
depends on what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, the longest
Well,
I've had a queen was 3 years, and they replaced her on the 3rd year.
Yeah, I just
If
lost
you-
the 3rd year.
if you give her a chance, she might be there still. You don't know. You don't know that.
Yeah.
This depends how much you push her. This is another thing as well. So you could
Yeah,
use her to a breeding. You could make her a brood factory of the queen. So you could do a lot of things in the queens like this. You don't need to use hair for typical for get honey of that colony of this queen,
Right.
but you could
She,
get for the brood
she was
factory.
my
just
breeder
to-
queen. She was a VHS queen.
yeah, see. So
Is your mic working, Kyle?
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
yeah,
can
now
hear you now.
perfect.
Yay!
Yay!
I told you she's gonna come for you.
Behind every good man is a good woman.
There you go.
I'm going to
She's
do
off.
the weed eating now. Well, he can go and yak to you guys.
Good to see you.
See you later.
Kyle relaxing looks like because it's quite warm over there
Now
now.
you're cutting out.
How warm is it, Kyle? Kyle, how warm is it over in New Zealand? Can you hear me?
Uh-oh.
No?
You can't hear us.
Can you hear us?
Now I can. Yeah, you're cut out
All right,
for a
now
bit.
you can. Yeah, can you? How warm is it over there in New Zealand right now?
We're sitting about 23 to 25 degrees C.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
All right, who's calculating that for us?
Lee will have it in the chat in like 30 seconds.
Okay.
70s.
Yeah, 70s.
70s.
Low 70s.
Okay. So,
Yeah, pretty
is your bees doing all right, Kyle?
Yeah, I'm just building up for my next research trial. So I got rid of heaps of hives last season and went down to about 3 hives. And first time in 10 years I've had anything like that. And which was kind of, I think, oh yeah, okay, that's kind of nice. I got no research, and then as it goes, I've ended up thinking about more research to do. So I've gone from 3 plus a donated hive to I'm just sitting at 63 now from those 4 hives. 30 of those are nukes, so they're just been made up in the last 2 weeks. So yeah, I'm back to numbers I can use again. So now I've just got to trial my prototype for my testing regime, and once that's confirmed that I'm getting some results from that, then I'll go to a little preliminary trial, just 20 hives or 10 hives. And then if I'm successful with that, then I'll go for funding and go for a big set, 50 and 50 or something. So, but there's a little bit of work and possible failure and possible success. Who knows? It's what it's about. Just give it a go and see how we go. If I'm successful there, then I'm into quite a large research thing come spring our time next year. So,
Okay.
fingers
sounds
crossed.
good.
So you're gonna be busy.
Yeah, I'm also just going to use the winter to do some more comparisons when it comes to resource usage over the season. So I'll go out and isolate out 20 10 framers and 20 nuke colonies, and I'll rip out the gates from 20 of those.
Right.
So 10 nukes, 10 framers, and then I'll leave the gates in the other ones, and then I'm just going to be weighing once I've finished feeding them up for winter, and I can't do any more of that. Then I'll start the trial, and I'll just run that through till September, which is, well, I don't know when it'll be. It might be September, maybe later, when I'll start this other trial. So I'm just going to be doing just to back up the information I got from that observational trial, just to get a few more numbers on that little setup when it comes to resources and stuff used over winter. And then, like I say, in September, I'm hoping to just do a preliminary trial. I'm just about another week or so. I'll have my CO2 monitors. I'll have a couple of those set up. So that does CO2, temperature, and humidity. And then over the next week, I'm just getting prepped a couple of poly boxes, so that I can stick the sensor in there and trial all the equipment. I've got to have a remote data collector, sensors themselves. So I'll get them set up in a couple of poly boxes, and then I'll chuck a 10 frame hive in those boxes, and we've just got to run the system and see, first of all, whether we can get it all working, which I'm sure we can. But I'm testing for CO2, so I've got to trial a few. It'll be a bit of trial and error to see, first of all, whether I'm even getting a difference between a gated and ungated, and then where exactly the sensor's got to go, because CO2 is lighter than air. It's heavier, so it'll sink to the bottom of the hive. So yeah, I've got to figure out where the sensor's actually going to go. I think I already know, but it's a case of getting a couple of hives set up, one with gates, one without, getting the sensors in there, and just trial and error and see where we go with that setup. So fingers crossed all that works, because I've got to find the reason why I had such success with the mites. And CO2 was something that I'd never tested for. So I don't know whether that was the reason, or whether it was the humidity, constant humidity levels were the reason or not. So, you know, it's all trial and error, and I could be completely wrong on the whole lot, but the results I got were just too, they were too good to not chase it up a little bit, is what I guess, you know. So that's what I'm trying to achieve this season. Madness.
Kyle, I
I think
ordered
you're right
your.
on with the CO2 and
By the way-
humidity. That's kind of what I've been testing on.
Sebastian, what did you want to say?
frozen.
Remember, Bob? I
you bet.
ordered them from Kyle, this entries for the Minooks, and they will be
Everyone's
delivered this
freezing on
week.
me.
It's frozen again. I see. Yeah, I bought some
Bob, you're still
Kyle. Yeah, I ordered from Kyle the entries for the Nooks. I will try them definitely this year on my Nooks, because we
You guys-
got a big
guys
problem
find-
with yellow jackets. We have massive problem here.
Yeah,
So they
you'll
are
be blind.
playing a bump.
Yeah.
You'll be stoked at that.
Yeah.
That's
in the
good.
shed. The yellow jacket thing is what I sold it on originally, because I can, you know, people can get it and see it actually happening. But all the other things, I've got to put proof behind myself, because everything happens in the hive, you know. So, but I'm getting really good hive beetle scenario. Something I can't test myself, so I've just got to rely on other people's feedback. And people are getting substantially less mites in the hive, which makes, you know, it would make sense if you look at it all. But again, I can't test it, so I've got to rely on other people to run it and see how they go, you know.
Well, any
But
southern
yeah.
beekeeper can definitely give you a hive
Yeah.
beetle.
Yeah, we'll get together once you get them in your hands, and we'll go through the methodology and how to set them up. And yeah, I'll just rely on what you say, guys, because that's all I can do with that one.
Okay.
But I'd love
So,
to.
Mark-
I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark, what are you doing? Anything in your hives now? Or I guess not really. You're still in winter just like us, aren't we?
Yeah, it's cold here. I put some patties in last weekend. That's about it. Had 2 hives blew over. A triple 5 frame. They blew over, and I picked them up. And last weekend I put patties on them, so I'm gonna go back tomorrow if it's supposed to get up to 60s and look and see if they're brooding up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they're gonna be dead or what.
You get some of those high winds.
Yeah.
last week.
It got to blowing pretty good here today, and of course I learned. It's been a couple years ago. I had, like you say, 3 medium nukes, or let's say 2 deeps, and luckily I only had, I think, 3 nukes together on one hive stand, and they blew. The one blew over. It was like a domino effect. It knocked the other 2 off,
Right.
and I got them all put back together, and the queens were fine and everything like that. And then ever since then, I said, okay, I get ratchet straps, and I ratchet strap everything down now. And,
Yeah,
and all
these
that
were
stuff.
these were 3 high because I combined them put some on top of them back in the fall that wasn't very good. So they were actually 3 high nukes, right? And them are really bad about catching wind. And I didn't have them strapped down. So
Yeah.
they're strapped now.
Hey
Too late,
guys,
but
I'm going to sign out. It was really, really nice meeting you, Kyle and Sebastian.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice
cool.
to meet you, Tom, as well. Tom, I'm
Yeah.
doing a live chat tomorrow, so you could pop that up if you have time. So if you get a few minutes, you could pop that up. I
Oh,
will send.
really?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I'll do tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow.
Oh, wow.
What time?
All right. I'm going to
What,
try to catch that.
what time
Yeah.
is above that time? But what time that'll be in your time?
10
10
o'clock.
10
4
o'clock your
o'clock.
time, right?
Yeah.
That'd be 4 o'clock in the afternoon in your time, right? 4, 5 o'clock, or 3 o'clock. What time
What
is
time
that?
is it you right now?
They're
10
5 hours.
3 o'clock now. 3 o'clock in the morning.
So you're 5 hours ahead of us. So
Yeah.
if it's 10 your time, it'd be 5 our time.
Yeah.
My time.
It's you're having a stream, is what you're saying, Sebastian?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so is your
Um,
channel?
And I will post a link in it. I invite some special person. Nathan,
Okay.
I invite Nathan in there. So
From Duck River?
Nathan, I invite Nathan there. So
From
yeah,
Duck
that's
River?
right. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, all right, so your channel is beekeeping gardening, right?
Yeah, that's
Correct?
right. So some
Okay.
people doesn't know what vibe gardening. Bob could tell you, Bob.
Right.
Well, I grew. So if you don't know, so I'm gonna tell you. Last year I broke the Guinness World Record. So I'm officially a world champion growing vegetables, my friend. So
Was
World's
it
biggest cucumber.
huh?
yes, that's right.
The world's
The big-
biggest cucumber.
Cucumber? Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I do
Right.
growing, and I love growing. I like not just growing because I love growing for the home stuff, for food for home, because these days it's very expensive, you know. And a lot of people doesn't know, but some people start realize when they go shopping, there's nothing in the shop. That's how
right.
it is now. The old supermarkets now losing massive amount of food because nobody can supply them anymore now. That's how it is now. It's difficult now. So we grow lots of stuff in the home, so I sell for vegetables, and so I try and get something on YouTube, put the guys some tips in how to grow it. And some guys like seeds. You could buy some seeds, pepper seeds or anything. You could buy like £3, or you could have that for free. You don't need to pay £3. Why you pay £3? So I just done a video and just example. I went to shop. I bought some peppers, lovely sweet peppers, big one, the biggest you could have, the lovely pure, have to be quite dark red. Cut them in there, seed them up, 10 days they'll be up, and you can get fruit. Cost you nothing. You have fruit and you have seeds. How's easy that?
Nice.
So
So it's 5 p.m. or 5 p.m.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll look you up. I'll come on.
I'm going to actually post a link here.
hey, Sebastian, you do know you can prune them peppers back and keep them in the house over winter and plant them back the next spring.
Absolutely, I know.
All right,
Yeah.
you
And
gotta
chilies,
put that-
I grew chilies, hot chili mark as well, and I do that. I got actually a couple ones, the hottest ones, we kept them for 2 seasons.
And they make better the next year, I think.
Oh yeah, hot, very hot. Oof.
Yeah. See, here we usually just plant them annually.
Yeah.
Now you're talking
I need
about
to
hot
get him some
peppers.
Carolina
Mike,
Reaper.
Minnesota Mike ought to be here because he's into raising them hot peppers and making all that hot sauce type stuff and everything. So are you putting your link in your channel in the channel here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, help us find this tomorrow, Charlie, if I can't figure it out.
It's
Because I
beekeeping
can't
gardening.
see I can't see the chat when I'm on the
his chat handle was beekeeping gardening.
Yeah, okay. And Mark, where are you located?
I'm in Northwest Tennessee, Nancy. Union
Oh,
City,
north-
Tennessee.
Northwest.
Northwest.
Okay, up there on the because Tennessee is about as long as Pennsylvania, I think, but just about half of it. We're
Yeah,
both big states.
yeah. I live closer to Missouri and Kentucky. Kentucky's
Yeah.
right in
Okay.
north of me, and
Yeah.
Missouri's just right
Yeah.
across the river.
And you're just having cold spells now. You're
Yeah,
cold.
it's cold right now. It's probably 30 degrees.
He's
Yeah.
he's kind of northwest of Nashville, I think. Right?
Yeah.
Mark?
I'm 110 miles north of Memphis.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
Memphis
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
south
Yeah.
of all right, there it is. It's 5 p.m. tomorrow, right? In the evening
Oh, that's a nice time. That's a good time.
for us.
Yeah.
So
That's
and
a good
it's
time for us.
beekeeping, gardening, and Sebastian.
And what time will that be in our time?
It's 5 o'clock in the evening tomorrow.
Oh, your Central Time, Mark?
I'm Central Time.
4.
So that'll be
4
Oh,
o'clock.
so
4 Central.
Okay.
4 o'clock Central.
Beekeeping, gardening.
No, it actually wouldn't that be Central Time is an hour
Yeah, so it's
behind
5
us?
our times. It'll be 4 their time.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're ahead of me.
It's 5 hour time and 6 their time.
You lose time going west.
No.
Okay, you go back for okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sun
because the
goes
sun
west,
rises in the east.
and then the longer
Yeah,
it takes
yeah, I
to go
figured.
west.
Okay, that's
So-
right because you set your clock back every time you go in the time zone.
Bob,
Okay.
did you contact this lady I did say you about the cages?
No, she didn't. You said you gave her my information too. She didn't contact me. I haven't contacted her yet.
Oh, okay, so she's in Austria on the show now. When she's coming back, I will speak to her. I will
Okay.
give a ring to her. So they make they're
Time
one
you-
of the biggest suppliers in the world for the beekeeping. They do queen excluders, they do queen typical cages for queens. For you could get cages for 2 frames, for 1 frame. You could get for breeding queens, all such stuffs in there. They are one of the honestly listen they supply listen a lot. Most of the hives that we listen have all days equipment what's going to the hives, they have a lot of stuff from them. They make them roofs, everything.
That's that
So-
translation is license, right?
Yeah,
License,
sorry,
right?
that's yeah,
Okay.
license. Yeah.
Well, it's just a dialect. That's it.
No, Charlie, that's fine.
That's
License,
fine.
yeah. They
License.
yeah.
We might,
well,
we might pronounce it, the wrong. I don't
Different.
know if it is or not.
Yeah. See, English is my third language, so
And
but they do produce, and I believe a lot of people like have they have problem with the brood. Shut the brood. They cage the queen. You could catch the queen. You could get queen only laying on a 1 frame instead on 10 frames. That is a trick to get varroa out as well. So this stuff they're using a lot in here in Europe, and I believe Bob is a man who could get that in US in the market.
Sebastian, what's the name of that company?
it's license.
It's
No,
called
it's
Kit. Bob have the link. I did post the link there, Bob. Can you stick the link on so they could see that?
I gotta find it over here in our.
I will try and invite the lady on a live chat, but not this time. I will try and speak to her when is the best time for them on weekends and get chat for them. She speaks English really well. So guys, they do. Imagine they produce massive amount to Germany, Austria, Switzerland, all around Europe, Denmark. They're very popular people.
I can't even say it. Peachgrass or
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Pechak. Yeah.
Krati isolatory.
Yeah.
I bought that. What is it? It's an isolation queen box or queen
cage, yeah.
excluder box where you put the 1 frame in it from Better Bee down there at Hive Life.
That's possibly from them. Possibly that's from them.
Probably.
Do you
Let me
have
see
that
if I
next
can, I'm,
to?
gonna go see if I can find it. Hold on.
Yeah, come on in. I might, but maybe that's the one.
See, everybody says I got a bunch of gadgets. Charlie's got gadgets too. Everyone's got gadgets. I bet Mark's got gadgets handy too, right next to him.
They're everywhere.
But they say I have the greatest gadget to bee ratio. I got more gadgets than I do bees.
Yeah. Most of my gadgets are old though. I quit buying them.
So, Mark, are you ready for the season? You
I'm
ready?
getting there.
You got already nearly everything.
I'm getting there. I'm not where I really want to be. Now I don't think I ever am, but it's fixing to hit.
Slowly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got to do waxing frames. Couple bricks, just to painting my mini mating nooks. I got 100 new mini mating nooks. So
Yeah, I've been painting myself.
yeah,
Trying
so
to waxing frames, rolling the whole 9 yards.
yeah.
I got 8 more deeps to paint, and more frames to wax. That's about it right now.
I finally got all my
waxing?
bottom boards painted, Bob. Finally.
Did you?
Remember all them I built?
Yeah.
So you can see them.
Oh wow, yeah.
To the
Bob,
roof.
did you say you were painting frames or dipping
No.
frames?
No, I got to
Oh,
wax
big
my
boxes.
frames with. I roll wax them, but I've got to paint.
Oh, the foundation.
Yeah. I got plastic
Yeah.
frames, so.
Yeah.
He's got
So,
plastic. I got wax.
That's the one,
I'm trying-
Charlie. That's
That
the
it?
one, Charlie. Bob, look this now. That's the one, Charlie.
Let's
What
see if I
is
can
it?
get
What is it?
Isolation
Queen
frame.
excluder box.
Let's see if I can get it. Take,
Put the
got
frame
lid
in
that
it.
takes off.
Yeah, that's the one.
Okay. You put
So
the
yeah, come on, Charlie.
I got half
Yeah,
of
you
one.
put-
I got those in halves. I have half of that.
Yeah, the old
Yeah.
style. I
Well,
believe.
this one here, it acts like it has on the end here. It has frame rest, and then what you do
Yeah.
is you can put the queen in there. What
Yeah.
I bought it for is you can do isolator for isolating the queen, but that's the same purpose as a timing box. Where if you
Oh,
put
yeah.
a clean
Uh-huh.
frame in there,
Yeah.
put the queen in there, let her lay 24 hours.
Exactly.
You know exactly when she, the age of the eggs when you want to graft.
Mhm.
Oh yes.
And that's the
Mhm.
same principle as Hardeman's, the commercial beekeeper, where they raise thousands of queens. Only thing is they have a box that has the queen excluders down in a slot. And
That's
then
what I use.
if you watch that video about him being in that, I have on the going to Georgia, I think it's the second video of it where he explains, and I had to watch that same video 3 or 4 times to get the placement of the frame, because you take that frame out after 24 hours, put it alongside of this queen excluder box, take the queen off, put a new fresh frame in, put her on that, and then you keep moving that frame back in its position. And when day 4 hits, that's the day you graft off that frame, and those eggs are perfectly timed. Now, one thing that they did do down there was they grafted every day at a specific time, which was 1 o'clock
Yeah.
after
Yes,
lunch. So that way everything is completely timed out to where your eggs are just right. And that's why I bought it. I was going to use it this year for a timing box for eggs and see how that works for me.
It'll work.
So, Sebastian, that's where it comes from, that place that you're
Yes,
talking
that's
about?
the one.
From
So,
Poland, yeah.
so Charlie, I know these people.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, and they're very family business for beekeeping, and
Mhm.
they do a massive job for our industry beekeeping, which I believe this is something for you guys in United States where beekeepers can basically get the brood break. I think this box is a magic box because you actually could shut down the queen in the one frame, and you could keep her in for the 21 to 24 days, because the 24 days, after 24 days you could release her, but in that time you could actually hit the queen, the hive in oxalic acid, and that will destroy the varroa. So this box is the cages. They produce three frames and 2 frames.
As far as
So
holding the frame, holding the cage holds 2 frames.
yes, as well, yeah, 2 and even 3. If that's up to you, what I always say to you guys, if you want order 100 boxes, I'm sure they could do for you. What they will ask you, what size you want, whatever you want, they will make you. That's how they do. And I know they make 3 because in UK there's one shop where they supply that in UK here, and they do 3 frames. But they only, if you order them, they will bring it in for you. But
Right.
normally they do 2 and 1. So one is for typical for introduce the queen. So you could bring in queen, mated queen, and if you have a aggressive colony which you want to requeen her, that is another magic, because you could put wax, good already drawn come in, put inside, put the queen in there, she will start moving, laying. They will manage to get feed her, but they will not get inside to her. So you got cages like that as well. So that's another stuff. So there's one frame there. So they call introduce queens one, and then the other ones what you just got. I'm not sure what you have. I think you have introduced one queen.
No, these are,
yeah.
This is like a regular queen excluder type there.
Yeah, so bees can get in there, so they can. So that's good for breeding queens and all that stuff. But if you want for typical where they cannot get inside the queen, you could have them as well. So they do produce quite a lot of stuff for beekeeping. And always they
got one where the bees can't get into the queen.
Yeah, that's right.
Like
Yeah,
a big queen
that's
cage.
the one.
You could
So
put
that
on.
would be like a cage that has, let's say, 1/8-inch hardware cloth.
This is introducing queens. You could put a queen in there in a drone comb, introduce a queen. The second day, say you make a split, and you got, say just example, you got aggressive colony, you requeen that colony, you make it 2-3 splits from there, and you got 3 cages like that, single cages for single frame. You just open it and put the queen in there, locked it in there, no bees in there. They will have to accept her. They will have no choice, because that queen will be safe. They're not going and kill her, because they will have no way how to do that. And you could actually take the frame out after a couple of days, put the frame in and put new frame in. In 2-3 days you could get few frames laying by the queen, and you actually can basically, you could manage that frame, 1 frame box cage, what I say. You could take that frame out and put new fresh come in there. They were laying again, and you know what happened? As soon as they smell the brood in there, they will stop, be not nasty. Basically, they will accept her.
How
Even
I
if they
deal with them nasty ones, I just kill the queen.
Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah, that's what
And
I do.
if they're real nasty, and you've ever had any that's really bad, I get me some pipe tobacco, and I put that in my smoker, and I'll smoke them pretty hard with that pipe tobacco.
Yeah.
And then I'll open them up, and they'll all be sick, and they'll all be throwing up everywhere, and they ain't stinging me. And then I'm gonna find the queen, and I'm gonna kill her.
Yeah,
that's how I do it.
Yeah. 1 second, I need to get let some.
That's to keep them from stinging you. If it's a hot hive, they're gonna burn you up.
Right.
Time you find that queen, you done got stung all over. So I use a little
hopefully I
pipe
just stuck
tobacco.
mine up in a vacuum. I don't even know.
If you put some pipe tobacco in that smoker, Bob, you'll make them sick. They'll be throwing up. They don't care nothing about you then.
I think you need a more powerful vacuum there, Bob.
Well, you know what? There were so many bees that the vacuum actually stopped sucking because there was about this much bees in the bottom of that Colorado bee vac where they were plugging the inlet hole up because they were on the bottom. So the vacuum stopped sucking. So I had to take them bees home, dump them in the box out here. Now I guess when I go back and get the rest of them tomorrow, I'll just put them in another hive and split them, have 2 colonies, split them up.
So you had a Colorado BVAC. That's that one you.
Well, it's not the Colorado BVAC, but it is Sam from the South Carolina Happy Bees BVAC because I borrowed his. The first one smoked. I drove out there 45 miles, started vacuuming these bees up, and then all of a sudden it started making noise, and then it just started smoke coming out of the motor. I had to take it off. Went back, got a new motor, mounted it on top, went back. It was a little bit smaller. And that, man, I had this much, about 3 to 4 inches of bees in the bottom of this box.
Years ago, I made that BVAC that you put it's got a floor and a top, and you put your hive in the middle, and it sucks the bees to the bottom. And then I think there's a screen or something on top where you put I bought a regular shop vac that you could take the motor off and put it in and all that stuff. And I never did completely complete it. But
so this one's got a bottom where the inlet is. And then on top of that is the 8 frame deep, basically.
Yeah.
And then on top of that is a double screen board, right? And then on top of that is the vacuum, which is mounted on a box. It's just got, basically it's like a vacuum table, right? Because it's just a piece of wood on the box with a bunch of holes drilled in it. And it sucks everything on in, but yeah, they were not happy.
All right, everyone. There's
Kyle, got a quick question. You have a floor already started in your area?
Finishing now.
How are you? So what did you have in the first floor? Did you have? What is
It was a crap. It was absolute crap. We've just been through a massive cyclone that's wiped out half of the North Island, taken out most of the crops in Napier Hastings. So tens of thousands of acres worth of crops have been destroyed. About 8 people so far dead. And it's been, so from the beginning of the season, the actual flow, we've only had about maybe 2 weeks of any kind of sunshine off and on. So some of the guys up north didn't even make a super of honey.
Wow.
So it's been a disaster of a year. And on top of that, we've had all the bad weather. So
yeah,
we've just had a really serious cyclone, and it's they've set up a morgue at one of the shipping container places and stuff just in case, because there's still 12. Well, it's actually more like 3,000 people that are unaccounted for, just through cell phone being down and power and all that kind of stuff. There's roads blocked, houses falling over, and landslides everywhere. It's a mess. So Convita, our biggest company, they've got 80,000 hives or something, and they're going to post a loss this year because they've had a whole lot of them washed away, I guess. It's been a bit of a shit year for us, to be honest.
So now you say cyclone, and we would call that what, a tornado or a hurricane?
No, it's different. It's just a big weather system. On the map it looks like a hurricane. It's going round and round, but it's just high winds. So we had 140 to 160 kilometer/hour winds. So and then a heap of rain, just absolutely massive amounts of rain. And then down in Napier and Hastings, it's a lot of orchards and cropping land, and it's a lot of flat land. So there's a lot of stock banks and stuff that control the rivers. But a lot of those were breached, and people found, within 10 minutes they saw water come into their lawn, and within another 10 minutes it was over their roof. So there's been a lot of people washed away, and it's been real tragic. I lost a guy that I knew in Muriwai, which is about 30 minutes west of us. He's a vet, equine vet that I've known for the last 10 years or so. Volunteer fireman, went out to help someone, and the slip came down, and him and one of his colleagues got crushed, so they're dead. And so it's been a bit of a shit week, really.
Yeah.
But as far as honey flow goes, it would have finished by now for us. And then the other problem I've got is that we are majorly overstocked in this area. There's several large commercial guys in one area, and there's just literally thousands of hives. You can't drive a kilometre without going past a couple of hundred hives here, there, and everywhere. So it's, I said,
I imagine that wind would have blowed all your blooms away. That high wind like that.
Yeah. And now, like Manuka and stuff, you guys would have heard of Manuka honey. Well, we have Manuka blooms first. And then we have what the cousin of Manuka is called Kanuka, and that blooms straight after. And if you're lucky, it'll bloom for 6 weeks. Generally, it's 2 to 4. But if you get a little bit of drizzle on that day, then that bloom gets washed out. So that whole day, even if it just rains once in the morning, that whole day's bloom is gone. And with our weather, we get rain, we get everything in a day. So it can be really, really finicky when it comes to whether you can make a crop of that stuff. It costs a fortune to try and hunt that stuff down. The guys start in the north, and as the bloom goes through the season, it moves its way down the country. So right now they're just finishing up in the central North Island with the Manuka bloom. Probably already finished, to be honest. And they start early, like September or whatever, up north, right up north, and then they follow most of the guys follow that bloom all the way down. But I know for a fact that up north,
I've seen videos. You got a lot of mountain range in your area, from what I see. They've actually fly those hives up with a helicopter up into the mountains.
Yeah, it's like 2 stacks of 6 pellets, so 2 pellets, 6 hives, sort of thing on each helicopter. Depends on the helicopter, of course, but and then they fly them into areas because you can't get access to them, and to produce that honey, you literally have to be in nothing but Manuka for miles and miles away. Otherwise, you get a mix, and landowners will charge huge money to put your hives in. So it's, you see the high prices of it, but if you see what goes into actually getting a pure product, the money involved and the effort and the risk involved is absolutely massive. You can imagine running helicopters just to drop off hives.
Yeah, I mean, helicopters are not cheap to fly.
No. And so it's a big game. I mean, if they get it right, then they really get it right. But like everything in agriculture, it's a few years are good and a few years are bad, and then a few years are bad, and then maybe a good one. So they, I take my hats off to them. It's a risky business, and when they get it right, and it goes really well. But it's, you know what it's like. It's so finicky. It's a big gamble.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Charlie,
I
I basically have I usually use the honey flow to produce nukes and everything, right? So I don't really do I don't keep bees for the honey as such, or I haven't because of my research and stuff. It's just been focused on that. But I use the honey flow just to grow my hives and get my colonies going. But this year I just sunk heaps of sugar in instead. And lucky I did, because we got absolute rubbish honey flow. So I was pleased I did that. I'm still doing it. So, But that's the only way to get good numbers out of small numbers, is just to pump that sugar in from spring onwards, right? So you go from 4 hives to 60, and and remember it's about 30 of those are nukes, so it's not really 60, but they'll be hives in the next 2 months. They'll have enough time to pump that sugar away before we go into winter. Yeah.
What did you want to say, Sebastian?
What flow you normally start in your area in spring? What you normally first starting in the flow?
When does our flow start? In November.
No, in Charlie way.
Yeah.
Charlie way.
What? When does the
What
flow
fl-
start?
Yeah, normally.
April.
You're in April.
My flow in my area, in my state, is
Yeah,
April, May, and June, and after that, I'm
So
done.
what is it? What is
Yeah.
it? We start first.
As far as the plant type of plant life,
Yeah.
or
No tough life.
most of it is the first tree that'll bloom would be maple trees, but that's when the bees just use that. We don't get a crop out of that. And then my crop is mostly a locust tree and a poplar tree. It's kind of real, what would you call it? Real sweet honey. It's it has a lot of sugar in it and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing. And that's pretty much it. Now, where Bob lives, he has a longer honey season because he can start earlier than me and probably go later than me. And they have different types of plants and trees down there. And I know when Lee's on here, Kodiak, he has like tallow, which is it doesn't even grow around my area. And there's some flowers and stuff that the bees go after, but mostly it's a locust and a poplar tree. And that's the kind of honey I get around here. Now, we might have once in a great while, we'll have a fall bloom of, let's say, goldenrod, but I've never harvested any of that kind of stuff in the fall. I just leave in the hive for the bees.
That's what I do. Yeah, that's what I do. Yeah.
You know, all the fall, any type of fall, like goldenrod. Most of our goldenrod, yes, we would have a nice bloom of yellow goldenrod, but it's mostly pollen for the bees.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuff.
I'm kind of like in between Bob and Charlie in a way, as far as the flow goes and the timing. Bob will start way earlier, then I'll start, and then Charlie will start. So I'm kind of like in the middle.
So we start normally. We got started in mid. Depends of the season. Depends of the weather temperatures in here. But normally we got the dandelion starting and also black thorn. You know what that black thorn is?
No.
So there's a trees. I don't know what they call it. It's Richard Noel actually called the name in French, but they are flowering heavily. They when they're flowering heavily, there's a lot of nectar and honey in there as well. You could have, if you're lucky, if it's good, if it's no raining for 2 weeks, you could have nice crop of that as well. That is the first early dandelions and all that, and then we got rapeseed oil. If there is a rapeseed oil area, farmers.
Yeah, that would be canola, right?
Canola, yeah, that's right. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the same. They call it. Most people don't know what rapeseed is. They've changed the name because of the name.
Yeah,
but
and then we got summer honey flow, which is up in June, mid June to end of June, sometime mid July. We still have it. And south part of the country have in September, October, which is a header honey. Up in Scotland, they have header honey. Up in my area here is a header honey, but last year we didn't have header honey because of was so hot, so was no nectar. So imagine you put the hives over there, it will be basically you will actually feed them. So I decided to not put in my hives for the header honey, but in the previous year I did, and it was really nice crop. Wow, it was unbelievable crop. Imagine bees in September, early October was busy, working really well on a header. It was unbelievable looking in there. Everybody have bees already, finish the flow, and then the header honey, the bees just like wow. It was just amazing to watch that, how they working in. So
Y'all's or your canola, is it bad about crystallizing over there?
Yeah. Canola. I have last year canola, and really nice because where I have my apiary is about less than half a mile around the area. All canolas there normally in the spring, so I have a lot of canolas around there. That's why my biggest apiary are down there. So
Yeah, but you were talking about like the dandelions. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a signal for us that the
yeah,
flow is going to start.
yeah.
We don't get much out of it here. Now I know that Michael Palmer talked about dandelions, and he says, yeah, you get a little clump around a post or whatever. And he says up there where he lives in Vermont, it's fields full of dandelions and
Dandel.
stuff. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah.
so it's depends where you live. I mean, when you go north of me into New York State, it's not as populated, and the countryside is more rural, or I don't know, desolate. I'll say where you don't have human interference with stuff
Yeah.
growing, and people let things grow like it should naturally.
Some people
So
let them grow, and some people spray them. That's the problem.
yeah, there you go. That's right.
Yeah. So a lot of gardeners they just cut the grass early in the spring. But where I live here, in my area, they every season they not cutting first grasses in the spring. So to let the pollinators got the pollen and all the food for the bees.
Hmm.
So, and then I think then, like mid of April, they start cutting the grasses around the city everywhere. So, but after that, they just everybody just spraying the chemicals on the dandelions. That's why we don't have them much. But
Yeah, that's the
well,
way
my
we're here. They do the same thing. They think it's a weed.
yeah. But
And now,
do you know what? I just Charlie, sorry. When I was in my very young age, I remember my grandparents. They've been pull the flowers off dandelions. They've been dry them off, and they make a tea. How good that tea was! It was unbelievable. The honey, it's just incredible because I have a 1 year of dandelion with mixed litre with spring honey. What a flavor it was! Wow. And
yeah,
this
now there
is
was old timers here that would take dandelions and they would make what is it, dandelion wine? I think it was.
yeah,
They
they
used
make that
some,
yeah.
yeah, and all that and everything.
People forgot about. They said, "Oh, it's a weed." They just spray them in.
Yeah.
There's not true.
Well,
So
they don't know what people. It's whatever the chemical people say they should do. It's what it amounts to. It seems like.
yeah.
But no, here they plant corn and soybeans for the
Yeah.
most part. Like the field behind me where it's brown up on top of the hill there, it's cornfield, and then they'll switch it over to soybeans. And there's not much bee food for the bees in that at all. And then, like I say, the trees are the main poplar trees here, the tulip
I,
poplar, they call it, is
are
a
you
lot.
are you growing something for the bees yourself? Are you
Myself,
growing?
not really. We have a farm now. There's a hillside over close to the main little road we have, and I have planted mountain mint in there, and they love. It's a late bloomer,
That's
and
the
it's
one. Yeah.
and it's grows about 3 foot tall, and they like that. They all the pollinators go to that and take nectar from that and pollen. I think.
I think
That's
what you if you have the fields around there, your apiaries, you could put goldenrod over there, like you just mentioned that as well. So
Uh,
you for the late bloom, but that's what they need, the nectar, the pollen they need it for the winter. So
mhm.
that is for late breeding queens. So that'd be
I
brilliant for.
What I would like to see is we rent part of our farm, and I would like the farmer to put in crimson clover, which I always kind of, it's like a little, it looks like a Christmas tree, but it's red.
Yeah.
And it's they use it for a cover crop. I'd like to see it put on the fields.
We get it
They
all
love that.
center
Yeah.
Huh?
medians of our roads. here.
Lots of nectar of this. There's lots of nectar of this.
Of course,
Yeah.
my bees are dodging cars to get to it, but
Yeah, I would like.
You should ask him to get for you.
Yeah, because I've seen him. I've talked to him. I said his help told me they were going to do something. I said, well, yeah, plant it here, and all. So
I bought 50 pounds of seed, Charlie.
Yeah,
And what I
yeah.
do is I just go around at all the ditches and throw
Yeah.
it in around the ditches and stuff.
That's a
And,
good idea.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea. Just put in the seeds in the ditches everywhere. They're not going to cut that in. And the bees will love that. That's a very good idea.
That's what Robin Hood
Yeah.
does. He does with dandelion tea and eat.
Yeah. Well done, Robin Hood.
Hey Charlie, you guys talking about dipping hot wax dipping your boxes?
I don't do it, but I know different ones. I know Nancy. I belong to the same club that Nancy belongs to up in Pennsylvania, and they have a couple members that have wax dipping vats, I guess, or machine. I won't say a machine, but a vat where they can submerge the boxes in and cook the. You actually cook the moisture out, and then of course the wax sucks into it. And it's not just regular wax; it's paraffin and something else that goes along with it.
So you're adding monocrystalline wax with it?
I think that's what they do. Yeah.
Yeah. So we do that a lot over here because of the high moisture content over here, the high humidity. Our boxes, if we don't do anything like that, and even with just paraffin wax dipping, it's the sun degrade when it gets really hot. The paraffin wax will degrade a bit, and it kind of depletes the amount in the box. So the monocrystalline just brings that the capability of that up quite a lot. And then on top of that, if they a lot of guys are trying not to paint them, but it's probably turning out like all the ones that I've done without painting, they're okay, but there's no doubt that painting over the top of them is the key to it. But you've got to paint them as soon as they, when they come out of the dipper, you'll see the wax bubbling away on top, sort of thing, and then it starts to go back into the wood. That's when you want to have the paint on there because it draws the paint into the wood and makes it stick really well. And then you can later on you can do another layer over the top of that. But it's really important to get that timing right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I like colored boxes myself, but I mean, the place that does the dipping would be at least an hour and a half drive from my house, and it takes a lot of time to do all that too. And there's a lot of people that want it done, so I just go ahead and paint my boxes and let it go at that,
Yeah.
Now James was on here from Canada. He's been building. He's a sideliner and he's been building pallets and boxes, and they're big on up in Canada dipping their boxes and they look. Of course, this stuff is pretty much all brand new. He's got about almost 100. Well, he's got like 75 or 78 hives, and everything that he has been wax dip. And on his channel, he was building two what is called 2 hive pallets, I guess it is, and boxes he's been putting together, and everything is going to go to the dipper.
Yeah.
And then Brad, who's is Faith Apiary, said James is his is Jay McNally, that's his website or channel. And then Faith Apiary, the bee man at Faith Apiary is Brad. He's also in Canada. He's in Manitoba. He builds all of his equipment, and there seems to be a guy in the area, I'll say commercial guy, that actually dips boxes because he lives close to Ian Stepler, and Ian gets all his stuff dipped there, and Brad gets his stuff dipped there. So they have actually a company there that does that stuff.
Yeah.
So,
That wax is expensive. Have you priced it?
I've
It's a
never
big
have.
Yeah.
I mean, I do know this. If you have a tank, getting the amount of wax and crystalline and all that to fill your tank is
I've
quite
got the tank. I don't have the wax.
yeah. The tank is the cheap part. It's this product that you put in there is quite expensive.
Yeah.
Quite expensive. And then I mean, I've seen Cayman did that one video and he had a ton of that stuff, and then he found out how much it cost. And I think he found that one box company down there close to him that he could buy them already pre-dipped and stuff. And that's one thing anybody that like around here, there's some people say they're wax coated versus wax dipped, and it's two different things. And you want the dip box if you're going to pay for anything.
Yeah.
But Mr. Eddie showed a video how he if you remember, there was no long ago he went to some of his friend from his local friend. They went dip boxes, medium. So you could see in there. It was not big, but it's quite very. I like the
Nathan's
idea.
building a tank right now.
Yeah.
Duck River, Nathan. He's building him a tank, getting ready to start dipping.
Yeah.
Nathan's only about 40 minutes, 50 minutes from me.
Is that right? Well, you can go over and get him to do it then. Now,
Yeah, I asked him when
Laura,
he's going to have a dipping party.
Yeah. Now, Laura here, she belongs to the same club as me and Nancy, and they charge $4 a box. That it uses, that it's the same. They use the same. It's paraffin and that other stuff that they use in there in order to do it. But it's expensive. I understand to get the the product.
It costs you a bottle
More
of
than I won't
LPG to get it warmed up.
Yeah, and that was another thing. Like Laura there, I know there was a couple guys where they get out there at, I'm gonna say like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and to get the burners running on these big tubs, tanks, to get it good and hot, and all that kind of stuff. But it's a lot of work to it, and it takes, I don't know how many minutes you submerge it, but it's quite a bit. So
you have to be the temperature. You have to be careful with the temperature as well. So
temperature, and then it also that there's that foam that comes up off of there, and I guess it's the water coming out of the boxes. It creates the foam, and then some guys had overflowing, and that can start a fire, and all that stuff, and
fire engine on way.
Yeah.
Now Phil says here, let's see, Nathan said $1,200 to $1,500 for the wax.
Depending on how big your tank is.
Yeah, it depends on how big the tank is. I watched his video tonight, a little bit of it, and here comes another part of the country or the world, I'll say. Here he is, James from.
Canada. James.
How you doing, guys?
James, Sebastian and Kyle. This is James. He's from what is it? I know it's Canada, but it's Alberta.
Alberta.
Yeah, actually,
Grand Prairie, Alberta.
You got her right for a change. Actually, I was on Sebastian's channel there a couple of weeks ago here. So, so absolutely. No, I heard you guys talking about the paraffin wax dipping. So, I figured I'd pop in here and let you know, being as I've been dipping my boxes now for a couple of years, and I'm building a tank. So you were fairly close. So it's a micro paraffin wax mix is what you dip your boxes in. Now I get mine from the Canadian wax supplier. So they're just over by, I think they're in Ontario. And in fact, I just got the price. So let me tell you on that one too, because you guys were talking about that.
49 cents American.
First of all, James, before you do that, how many pounds does it take to do, say, a gallon of volume? Do you know?
I've got all that here for you too. So bear with me here. Let's see.
I'll be back. I get a drink.
So there's just to give you an idea, there's 5 blocks in a case. Each block is 11 pounds, and a case up here retails for about $344. So if you work that out per box, it's about $2 Canadian per box to dip them. So, and it's a whole lot quicker than painting. They say it'll last for 20 years. I can't tell you whether it is or not. My boxes, well, they're 2 years old basically that I've wax dipped. But one thing I can tell you is they bead the water really, really well. The other thing that it works really, really well too is they do have a process and a procedure where you can actually re-dip your wax boxes. So that kind of helps out a whole bunch as well. So I really like the wax dip boxes. So as you guys have seen on my channel, I've painted some. I've used a water-based stain on some, made them different colors, everything like that. And after trying many of different things, I pretty much will be staying right to the wax dipping. As far as the time it takes versus the product that you get and the longevity of the equipment, if it does last the 20 years, just absolutely second to none.
The other thing, James, is that the over here we have an AFB management board, and we all have to we do a course, a refresher course on disease recognition every year. Every beekeeper has to do it.
Yep.
And then we have a certification system as well. So once you've done the course, you're AFB registered, but you're not certified as an approved AFB whatever. So I'm an approved AFB thing. All that means is that I've got an agreement with the agency that I will or I can do certain things when if I have an AFB outbreak or find an AFB hive. And what that means is that I've just gone through a written process which I submit to tell them how I'm going to deal with any equipment that I have or from that hive. And that can be, if I'm set up with a dipping tank, or I've got access to a dipping tank, I can dip all of my woodenware, my hive lid, hive mats, and I have to destroy all my frames. But I can sterilize the box, and there's been the science has been done on this, so that we know that it's worthy of doing. But that will sterilize the woodenware for AFB. So it has to be, the tank has to be, or the wax has to be at 160 centigrade, and the boxes have to be dipped for 10 minutes or more for that to be applicable. But because I've got this agreement with the management agency, I'm allowed to do that if I see fit in doing it.
There you go. What is 100? You're Kyle. You're in where? Sounds like you're Australia or New Zealand or something.
New Zealand, yeah.
New
So
Zealand,
160 degrees centigrade for 10 minutes. But you got to remember, flash point on paraffin wax is 180 degrees centigrade. So you got to watch it furiously, otherwise you have problems, right? And if your wood is a bit, if your wood's a bit moist and your tank's a bit full, you will have an overflow from the bubbling and that. But unless you've got access to, you can store your boxes and any equipment if it's well wrapped and in a bee safe building until such time as the dipper's up and running, but having access to a dipper and being able to dip for AFB sterilization are two different things,
yeah, absolutely. So I don't have any of that.
Very good point, Kyle.
I was going to say, I don't have any of that research, Kyle, on as far as what's approved for AFB. I haven't got that far into it, and I imagine we would still have to check whether that was
Your
acceptable here in Canada or not. So
Yeah, it just applies to New Zealand. So, yeah.
It's interesting that you guys have done that, because if that research and everything has been done, then it may be able to be transferred from one country to another. At least that is there. So I'm not sure what 160 degrees C goes to. I know they recommend us up here. I'll dip my boxes at 350 degrees. So that might be fairly close. That might be about the same.
Yeah,
thing,
it is. Yeah, it's pretty close.
Yeah,
because I know I'm approaching the upper end as well now. I've kind of got all the drawings and everything that I've given on mine, and yes, so I've always used a fellow beekeeper's dipping tank up here up until this year, and absolutely. So I'm making mine about 20% deeper than the level of my wax is going to be, just for that exact reason. As when you drop a box in there, if that box is moist, it foams up very, very quickly. So
another thing. Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
Another thing you might want to add into your design is an overflow drain on the edges, or a spillover catchment. Yeah, exactly. And take it well away from your flame, and it gives you a little bit of comfort that even if you do mess it up, it's going to be reasonably safe.
Right. So there's a few other things I've done here too. So,
but I brought that up because like for hygiene going through the years, for those of you that swap out your frame, I swap out frames regularly, like every 2 to 3 years. I've got a little system going on where I mark my frames. I know which year they were started, and then I try to get out frames every 3 years and refresh them all, just for hygiene and health reasons. But when it comes to sterilizing boxes and stuff, a wax dipper is super handy. That exactly. So your wooden frames, the ones that I've got, I haven't got many. In fact, like hardly any at all. But I'd even wax dip those. Take the inserts out and wax dip those. But for a hygiene regime, not talking about refreshing the boxes for the wax dipping in itself, but more for sterilizing equipment. When you consider that at 160 for 10 minutes, it sterilizes even AFB. It's a pretty certain way to sterilize boxes going through the seasons, right? So just a little something you might be able to look at going through the years, right?
Exactly. And but yeah, so any of I just got a text from somebody who's watching here who made a really good point. So anybody that's doing this, it is as I had mentioned, it's a paraffin and a crystalline wax. So it's not beeswax and stuff like that.
No,
so just anybody who's watching, make sure that you get the right the right mixture. So but yeah. The other thing I'm doing with my boxes, so I'm making them 20% deeper, or my dipping tank, I'm making it 20% deeper because it does. If you put a fresh box in there, as that moisture bubbles out, the wax and everything like that does froth in it. That's where that 20% is going to come in. The other thing too is I'm making on the bottom of mine, I'm using 2 separate gas valves and 2 separate burners. And it is thermostatically controlled so it'll automatically kick out if it gets anywhere close to the flash point. So that's a bit of a safety design that I'm building into my box as well. And also with the hood, I've got a lid and stuff on it that's like a hood. It's almost like a barbecue, if you will. So all of the steam and everything like that exits the back of the box. So I'll do a bit of a video on it as I build this box or this dipping tank, so everybody can kind of see what I'm doing. So,
James, on your design, do you have so when you bring the boxes out, do you have a little drip tray that you can put those boxes onto, and then you can load up your next ones and then take those ones away?
In fact, off to the side. So the heat from the burners is going to come up underneath the drip tray, which is where my boxes will drip. It'll keep that wax that drips down into that tray liquid, and it'll go right back into my my dipping tank. And that is
Speeds things up a bit.
that exactly. That is just a slight larger than what my dipping tank itself is. So
Yeah, and the other thing too, but don't quote me on this, but I think when you add monocrystalline, it brings your flash point temperature up quite a bit. But don't like I say, don't quote me on that one. Just pretend it's 180 and stick with that one.
well, and check with
For
your wax
safety reasons.
supplier, right? Make sure that you're using the product. Make sure it's an approved product. Don't start mixing stuff. Keep in mind this has to meet food grade standards in some cases, right? Maybe not necessarily with the wax, but just know what it is that you're using and how you're using it, and take the time to do the research. Safety on all of this stuff all the time, right?
Yeah. Good point. Good point. So,
but,
Yeah, now Laura brings up a thing, and I've seen this in one where you have a bar on the inside. When you close the lid, it pushes the boxes down in there.
Yeah,
so
good idea.
I've got a couple different things that you guys will see. So absolutely, Laura, that is important. So I've in my design on the top of my lid, when my lid comes down. So my lid, I've made it so it's only about 4 inches tall. So it's not really, really tall. It's also slopes back and way. So it does have the bars to push it down. But the other thing that I'm working on is when I lift the lid up, and I'm thinking even possibly of a step or possibly an air cylinder. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet as I build it. But as I lift the lid up, I'm actually going to lift up the basket out of the wax. So you don't have to use insulated gloves to dip inside the wax and stuff like that too. So as you lift the lid, you're going to lift the boxes and the pallets and stuff like that up out of the wax, slide them over, and you can drop the new ones in. So absolutely, you need all that woodware under the top of the wax.
And Robin Hood wanted to know about, let's see, let's see, how is it here? Let me bring it up. You don't have to dump it out. It just stays in that hopper, and it just goes, if you turn the heat off of it, it just goes back to solid, right?
It will, but that's the other thing too, is this is something that people have to kind of understand. It's a contained pot of wax, if you will. So if you're dumping dirty hives or hives that haven't been scraped in there, that is going to stay in that wax. One of the things that I've done on mine is I've actually built in a drain valve. There will be a drain valve on the bottom so that I can drain and filter this wax and clean it up and clean it out. The last thing you want is to be dipping your new boxes into, dirty soiled wax, if that makes sense.
Right. I don't think you'd be dipping dirty boxes, wouldn't you? Everything would be brand new, wouldn't it?
Well, everything I'm doing is brand new, but if you're like, where did Kyle go? Like Kyle was saying, if you're going to re-dip them, just make sure you scrape them, make sure they're as clean as you can get them. Like, I don't know anything about the resealing. I do see that I've had some information and stuff like that here sent to me through the Institute of Horticultural Development. So there's a bunch of information out there. So I'll look in on all of that. But everything I'm dipping right now is new, brand new boxes, brand new pallets, brand new lids. I probably won't be looking at re-dipping them, I wouldn't think, for probably, everything goes well, 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, it sounded like good to me.
But
you got a long, how would you say, you got a nice long lifespan as far as being in the beekeeping situation.
Well, they say 20 years, right? So we'll see if I make it 20 years. I'm not sure about that. I can't believe you didn't wear a full suit, Bob, on that cutout. Holy smokes.
I didn't own a full suit.
I would have lent you one.
But you see that? Look at, I don't know if you can see it good, but there's like, you see that ridge right there from the swollen? It's just like a bump right there.
Did you get the rest of them out today?
No, tomorrow.
Oh,
the guy called me. He said, as bad as you were stung yesterday, I don't even want to see you on my property today. I want to see you tomorrow. Then he
Well,
said,
if it's any
Hey.
consolation, I know I know what it's like. You guys probably heard the story when I went down to help a guy basically make nukes. He was making up all of his nukes, and he had one of the local farmers was using his tractor to unload the 4-way pallets off the trailer, and the 4-way pallets were stacked 3 high, right? So 4 times 3, so you got 12 hives on these pallets. And he was basically taking them off the truck, and then supposed to be driving down the road onto the approach into the field, and then dropping a pallet and a pallet and a pallet and setting them all down. So where I was working was just beside the road, and this farmer decided he was going to take a shortcut, and he backed down the ditch, and he dumped all 12 hives over about, I'm going to say 15 feet away from me. Of course, I heard the crash and I saw them go everywhere, but of course, I literally got frames and bees in my hand. And it was the most interesting thing I've seen in a long time, because if you can imagine these 12 hive of bees all up in the air, and they all pretty much landed on me. I couldn't see out my veil or anything. I was completely covered in bees. And it was interesting because all you could see were the bees all over the veil. I didn't get a single sting at that point. But the farmer wasn't aware and didn't know what was happening with bees. So, of course, if you would have waited 10, 15, 20 minutes, whatever it was, they would have all, went back, found the queen or whatever the heck it was. But no, he came up and he thought, oh my goodness, they're all over me. So what did he do? He started brushing these bees off me, crushing these bees, right?
making them more agitated.
Oh, I forget what it was. I think it was, I think by the time we counted the stingers and everything like that were in the suit, we stopped counting at about 700. So I know your pain very, very well. Like, oh man, that was, but once again, this is where, unfortunately, they had no idea. Like, it went from something that was totally interesting and it was like amazing, to have and I had the full suit on, to something that turned really horrible really quickly because somebody didn't know what he was doing.
Did he
point
at
you and say, he did it? Yeah. No.
But I've got a full suit now.
So, can you write that off to the company?
Nah. Well, hey, believe it or not, it was sent to me for free. So I got the Dear Bob, we can't carry your lure letter, right? And then they said, but we'll send you a bunch of stuff that you can review on your YouTube channel.
So here's an extra small bee suit.
It's a 2X. It's a 2X.
Summer one, James.
Exactly.
Summer one.
Oh, there you go.
Sure.
So it should hopefully help out tomorrow. And besides, I got a lot of the bees out already, so it's a smaller colony. They have less comb, compact, so they'll still be pissy probably, but I'm gonna put the vac to them and start cutting them out real quick and throwing them in the tote. I did fill up about 3/4 of a 27-gallon tote with comb and honey and brood and what have you in there.
That looked like a big hive. They've been in there for a while, obviously.
Well, he said that they cleared a bunch of trees about 2 years ago, a few miles down, and next thing he had bees coming out of there. And it had a fiber board underneath it, and when I went under there was like roach bombs, right, that they threw under there like grenades trying to kill them, but they couldn't spray them because they were underneath the boards. Yeah. So now I get to go in there and deal with the heat. Sorry, he's going to pay me tomorrow.
The aftermath.
Yep, that's it. So I got a Pro Nuke sitting out there with some old frames in it of comb, and any forgers that come back and get into that thing. I put duct tape in the little holes in the in the steel that they were coming through. And that's when I first realized how big it was, because I had fleared it a few days before that. And I'm like, it doesn't look that big. Just about like that underneath the floor. I'm like, it'll be good. And when I plugged up the entrance and exits that they had right there in that steel beam, and I started seeing how many forgers were actually backing up, I'm like, this thing's going to be huge. Yeah, you very rarely see Randy or Mr. Ed laying on the ground underneath an enclosed area, right? I mean, you'll see them do a trailer, but that trailer is usually up on blocks with no skirting or anything under it. And I was in a cage with them. Basically, it was a cage match. And as I'm vacuuming them, you'll see clumps of them. Even that little 20-second clip, you'll see clumps of bees falling down. Even if they're nurse bees, right? And they're walking around and they're on top of you. If you roll the wrong way, their instinct is to sting. So, and I'm laying on my back like I'm underneath the F-150 trying to reach up in the hole to get them. And they were just tearing my ass up. Matter of fact, I called Randy and I sent him the pictures. He called me back just to say, I'm still laughing at that photo you sent me with all them stings on you. And it's kind of funny. He called me the other day, or actually I called him and he just started laughing as soon as he picked up the phone. And I said, what's so funny? He said, I'm in a drive-through.
There you go.
Because every time we get him on live, he's in a drive-through.
So Sharon, my boxes are 2 years old, and they pretty much look like the day I dipped them.
Yeah, they're pretty, I'll have to say, what I seen on the videos.
So yeah, they pretty much look like the day I dipped them. So
now
I have a couple that look like they're getting a little bit weathered, but I think those are the ones that I dipped first. So now everybody has their own opinion on those. There you go. Everybody has their own opinion on the time to dip the boxes. I'll tell you what I did. So the wax supplier that we got our boxes from, they recommend, I think it's 3.5 minutes. Don't quote me exactly on that because I'd have to go out and pull the information back from the box. But I think it was right around the 3.5 minutes at 350 degrees. But what I did is I literally cut a box apart. So I should have just used a piece of wood, but I didn't. I literally cut a box apart. So I cut a box in 4. And after the 3 minutes, I was curious to see how far in the wax it went. Now at 3.5 minutes, that box was still foaming. The water was still coming out of the box. So the next time I was dipping boxes, I was smart enough to take a few pieces of wood with me. And what I found was it depends on the moisture content of the piece of wood. And I was dipping my box until it stopped bubbling and foaming, so if you will. So basically at that point, I come to the conclusion that I couldn't get any more water vapor out of the box. So then I would take the box out. And what I found by doing that, and that was about, I'm going to say, depending on the box, is somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes. Rather than stuck on time now, what I do is I watch to see what the wax looks like. And when I did that, it had sunk in on both sides so that it had just about on a 7/8 box, 7/8 Canadian or American, they're the same size. on a 7/8 box, there was probably about, I'm going to say, 1/4 of an inch inside the box that the wax actually hadn't gone all the way through. So for myself, I thought that's a pretty darn good penetration ratio. And that's what I use now. So rather than
like 2/8, right?
That's like 2/8, exactly. So rather than getting hung up on a time, I'll leave them in there for 5 minutes, but then I'll assess it after that until it stops foaming. And that's what I found has been working really well for me.
I'll add to that. Obviously, the drier the wood before you put it in there, the better the job that comes out. Full stop,
Absolutely.
right? And then I saw another question there: do you paint the boxes as well? That's up to you. But if you're going to paint them, it's a case of when you bring those boxes out and you put them on the drying rack or put them out, what will happen is you'll see wax on top of the wood, and then it'll just start to seep into the wood within, I don't know, 30 seconds, a minute, not even. That's when you want to have your paint on, because when that wax withdraws back into the wood, it'll actually draw the paint into the wood, and then it'll stick really well that way. If you don't do it like that, then and try and paint afterwards, it'll just peel off. It's wax on paint, paint on wax. It won't work. So to get good painted waxed boxes, you've got to follow up real quick with the paint. And if you do that properly, then you can then put layers over the top of that paint, and it will stick. So.
Very good point.
I've never tried that, but you can see the wax literally just suck right into that wood.
So you want to have your paint. Yeah, you want to have your paint on for that action, so that it's like little fingers hold a really good hold. If you do, like I said, then you can also do second layers if you want to, right? So
would a for like deep boxes, would like a feeder trough work, like you'd get at a Tractor Supply or something like that? One of those feeder troughs
to dip them?
To dip boxes in?
Well, you could, but it would cost you a fortune. Well, I was going to say it would cost you a fortune to fill that thing. Right? So I have seen one box, and actually one of the guys that I was working with, he suggested if you were going to do something like that, find something that you could put inside the boxes so you could drop the boxes down over it. You would use a whole lot less wax if that's what you were going to use, to use a big tank like that. But I think it's more of a hassle personally than what it would be good. And the other thing is you do need a certain volume of wax depending on what you have for a burner, because you'd be surprised how when you put those boxes in, you'll be shocked and amazed at how quickly that temperature of the wax will drop. So you need the burner to keep that temperature back up to the 350 and that extra volume of wax, I think, helps you maintain that temperature level.
Brian was asking, do they propylize them wax boxes on the inside like they do the other ones?
They do around the gap, absolutely. Yep.
Okay.
It's easier to scrape off.
It is.
It's not as necessary because the wax works as a moisture barrier anyway. So for one of the reasons for propolis is a vapor barrier. So if there's no moisture there for them to have to propolis over or to keep out, so but yeah, they do.
Yeah, no mold either. Very good point, Brad. So and that really makes a difference too, especially on your our bottom boards, our pallets. So our 2A and our 3A pallets, it makes it easy to clean them, scrape them out. It's really nice.
All right. Hey, Spanky.
Hey.
Late night, huh?
Yeah.
All right. That sounds like to me, James, for what you're doing, you're going to really make a nice dipping tank that has all the points covered, I guess you might say, dripping and all this other stuff.
I'm trying, right? I'm a firm believer if you do it right the first time, it might cost you a little bit more, but it'll cost you less in the long run. So, I would highly recommend go and try a buddy's or 2 or 3 buddies and understand what it is you want before you make your own. You can buy them. So you can buy these from the manufacturers that are selling the wax. I'll be honest, I don't like them. And being a sheet metal mechanic, of course, I kind of know what you can and can't do with metal. So it was easy for me to draw one up and say, okay, this is what I want. And like I say, thermostatically controlled, I think is definitely the way to go.
They'll probably slide.
Well, I don't think it would. So believe it or not, the mixture of the microcrystalline and the paraffin wax, it doesn't melt like beeswax. So as far as would it melt together, I don't think you'd have any problem with that, even in the heat of the south.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
we
know
get
the one guy, George, up here, he got the Amish to make him a dipping tank. And I have not seen it, but I don't even know how many boxes it holds. But
Right.
it did have some kind of bars on the lid, I think, where when he closed the lid, it pushed them down in there.
Yeah. So if anybody's thinking of making a dipping tank, I'll give you a little tip of that I think is an asset. Is most people will make it the size of the box, and they'll make it deeper. Don't do that. I would recommend make it just like I'm kind of making mine, so it's deep enough to put 3 or 4 pallets in. If you take a box, you could drop a box down in it, so it'll take 2 boxes that way. Or if you stand the box up on the side, it'll take 3. Don't make it really, really deep. The problem you have if you make them really, really deep is now you're working all the time way up here, or you're standing on a stool or something like that. I would recommend make it down where it's a nice, comfortable level to work at, so you're not standing on a stool, right beside a big vat of boiling wax, things like this. Just think of a few safety tips like that. So I would say not shallower, longer is probably better than narrower and deeper.
Right. So, yeah. Well, guys, it's 11:20 here where I'm located. I don't.
It's 4:20 here.
Yeah.
9:20
you're-
where I'm at, if you care.
Well, I didn't know how long y'all want to go. We'll go till 11:30 here at my time. We got another 10 minutes or so, and we'll shut it down for the night.
So yeah,
But
you see
it's
that
been
big, I was gonna say, you see that big pile of pallets I got in the garage here, Charlie?
Yeah, I watched your video. I didn't take time to count them because I was in between people coming in and and getting other things done ready for the show tonight.
Right.
So,
Well, there's 52 ways and there's 33 ways. So
52
or,
two-way pallets.
50 boxes. So there's 25 two-way pallets and 10
I thought you had it up for
pallets,
100 there. I thought you were going to James 300.
You'd be surprised. The dollars add up pretty quick with that lumber prices up.
Yeah,
here
but
right
look
now.
at all the honey you're going to make. You're only, you can double instead of making only 3,800 pounds, you can make it, 7,000 or 8,000 pounds.
I don't know what I'll get for honey this year again. It's really all about the bees. I'm looking for the hive numbers again this year. So the honey crop will come in time, but this year it's all about the bees again. And I'm fighting the comb. I don't have the drawn comb, so I'll be fighting that again this year.
Well, I mean, I think you'll be fine. And then Sebastian Ayers having his live chat tomorrow, right, Sebastian?
Yes, that's right. James, you remember?
I do. I got the invite. Absolutely, I'll be there.
And it's
Thanks, man.
5:00 U.S. time on the East Coast, 4 p.m. Central, and I don't know, it'd be what 3:00 your time, James?
Yeah, I'm well. It's 9:00 here now, so or 9:23 here now.
So I'm 4:23. So
yeah.
So
Yours.
Be 3:00 your time.
Yeah,
3 o'clock your time.
Lee will keep me in line.
Okay.
Yeah.
So actually, it's interesting because I did talk to Nathan down at with Duck River Honey down at the Hive Life conference. So I think it's interesting because he's in the midst of doing pretty much the same thing I'm doing. So he's in the midst of building a business out of beekeeping, which is exactly what I'm doing, is building a business out of beekeeping. So I think that'll be a very interesting chat tomorrow, Sebastian.
Yes, Nathan has got problem with the internet, so he said if he might be slight later. If he popping up, and he will let me know. So I'm looking out for that. This his interview, guys. What he done for last 12 months, I would say. It's just incredible. And the knowledge, what he's picked it up, it's just wow. That's what I could say. And I'm really looking to guys be on there. That's just nice to get a chat in about. He's traveling. He done an amazing with Stephen Corey interview. It just, I think all of you watched that.
Yep. Yep.
That was cracking. So yeah. And I just say, we're talking about, like I was talking about last time, honey, I this year put myself to a breeding queens heavily and the nooks. So honey will be like only the bonus if
Exactly.
whatever it
Yep.
be.
Yep.
It's nothing to be pushing on there. Now my numbers will definitely grow, and the plan it's already on the table, and I'm working on this to make sure that happens. So.
Yeah. Well, everybody keeps asking me, how many hives am I going to be at? How many hives am I going to be at?
Yeah.
I have no idea. And
hives we could have lots.
Well, it all depends really as to my bees, right? I will split my bees as to the strength of the colonies. So I mean, if my colonies are absolutely, excellent colonies, I might split them 3 ways. If I go in there and they're too small to split at all, well, I'll look after them, probably requeen them and go from there. So I don't know where I'm going to be, but I do know that last year I did not have enough equipment. So that's why the pallets are to the roof. That's why the boxes I've built, and actually I spent most of the day today out in the wood shop cutting the pieces for the lids. And you don't think it's that bad, but you're making 50 lids. Well, that's that's what 450 different parts and pieces that you need. So
yes, that's right.
So it's cut, repeat, cut, repeat, cut, repeat.
So James, what you just said, you ran out of equipment last year in July. I ran out of supers for honey, and they asked me how I did it. I just remove it, two supers, 3 supers. As soon as they're full, I remove them in, spin them back and put back again, and spin back, put it back again, because I was running completely out of equipment.
I had a little bit of that. I had to do a little bit of that last year as well. So
yeah, so it's a lesson which this year I will not let him to do it. Make sure this does not happen this year.
Well, there's a reason I've got 2,000 frames to make and 200 boxes, and I was kind of doing the math on that today too. I'm using the average of 4 honey supers per hive. So if I've got my single brood chamber, management. Sorry, I couldn't resist, Charlie.
We're talking about single brood chamber management.
So with a single brood chamber on there, I'm going to be planning for about 4 honey supers on top right now. So you stop and think that's 500 boxes for 100 hives.
That's right.
It adds up pretty quick. So I did 200 this year. In order to even come close, I need about 400 to 600 boxes next year. So I'm already wheeling and dealing with the manufacturers to see what kind of price I can get.
I mean, I would think if you got, what is it, 2,000 frames or more, that you would get a decent price already pre-built.
So I'm getting a pretty. My problem is I could get them pre-built. I choose not to. But the only reason I choose not to is the winters are long and cold up here, and what else am I going to do? For one.
That's true. That's true. You got a lot more time to do that kind of stuff with.
Right, but the other part that kills me is Edmonton, Alberta, which is the closest large city, if you will, is 4.5 to 5 hours away. The freight to bring this stuff in fully assembled absolutely just kills me. They cube it all, and I'm sunk. So it's actually better to bring it up, and I can slam it together in the wood shop relatively quickly. And I got a couple good friends that come on over to give me a hand and stuff like that too. So we can knock them out pretty good. We ended up knocking out those 200 boxes in Well, I was going to say, I think it was one Saturday and 2 evenings. We completely assembled the 200 boxes. The frames we built, or pardon me, the pallets. We built all of the pallets in a single day. It
Well,
took
that
us
was
one
like
day.
that box jig that I guess it
Exactly.
wasn't it Nathan who came up with that idea?
Well, I saw it on Nathan's channel. Yep. So I will be honest. Um, I don't want to say I copied it. I plagiarized the crap out of it. Maybe that's the way to put it. But and I did make a couple what I think were improvements. Maybe not. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of good information. There's a lot of crap information on YouTube too. But there's a lot of really good information on it.
Yeah, that's
Um,
right.
Well,
if you,
I know the old what would you call it, the old regime of beekeepers. When I first started, everything on YouTube was like you say, crap as far as information. But I feel like that has all changed here in the last 5 years or so.
I think we're
I mean,
getting
especially when I
more.
got on there and started doing videos, all the expertise that I have,
Well, I think
You brought the
there's
whole
more.
crowd up.
There you
Huh?
go. There's more people.
Right.
Yeah, there's more people, that actually have the experience on here now, and I think that is a great thing. That's an absolute wonderful thing because
Well, I
when
think
I
there's
got in, yeah, when I got
the
into beekeeping,
generation
there
of
was nothing.
beekeepers, the generation that a little bit younger generation of modern day beekeepers that are, either commercial or whatever that are putting out, they've jumped on the YouTube thing and they're putting out quality information and stuff like
Well,
that.
the the interesting thing is I'll show you. So, I found one of my old um, hard drives here that I kept when I was first learning. And um, anybody that follows my channel, I had no mentor. I had to learn this stuff the hard way. I read every book about beekeeping out there. Tried to do as much research as I could. I'd go and ask some of the big beekeepers around here some questions, and unfortunately, I kind of got the cold shoulder. So a lot of what I learned, I had to learn the hard way. And as I was going through that, I was going to start doing some, cleaning up and getting rid of a bunch of this stuff. And I think I'm going to make a video of what not to do, or all the things that I did that went really, really bad.
Mhm.
For the new beekeepers, so they
Yep,
understand. That's a good point, James.
Yeah.
absolutely. Like, man, I'm going through that, and I made so many. Where I'm sitting now, I made so many. I don't want to call them stupid mistakes because I learned from them. So I don't think it was a mistake, but I learned so many lessons the hard way. Maybe that's what I should say. And man, if I can help another new beekeeper out so that they don't make those same mistakes, that'd be huge. But yeah, I bet you I got to have 50 videos on there that I was kind of skipping through saying I did what? Why on earth would you do that? Like that's the silliest thing. But at the time, when you go back and you're thinking about at the time, it's like, oh yeah, I didn't know at the time that to give you an example, I had no idea the very first swarm I caught that I needed a queen. What's a queen?
Mm.
But in all honesty, right? I went out with some buddies and they were catching swarms, and I caught a swarm, put it in a box, and I thought, okay, this is great. Let's learn about these things. Didn't have a queen. You imagine how that one went, right? They didn't last very long. So
All right, guys. Well, it's
Oi.
11. Huh? Go ahead.
I'm off as well, so it's quite late now for here.
Yep.
So I'm shut them out, and have a great evening for you guys.
I'll try to
And
get on
whoever
your
turn up,
channel
whoever
tomorrow.
turn up, yeah. So at 10 o'clock, 4 o'clock your time, James 3 o'clock. So
yep.
Yep.
have a great afternoon. Thanks, Kyle, who turn up. That's a nice chat with you.
Good talking to you, Sebastian.
Hey, yeah, go ahead. And
Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Marky.
Thank
See
you,
ya,
I'm
buddy.
off.
We'll
See ya.
see y'all
See you later, guys.
Sure.
Yeah.
Night.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and end the go off the air here.